We back. I like how we were all vibing
Yo,
backstage.
it gets stuck in your head.
It does. I love the fan club theme song. I love hey Rakarsha.
Always
I
a
think that
first
means we're
in
officially
this
back.
section. Yes.
We are officially back. We took the week off last week. And hey Dylan, we aired
Dylan.
a best of TWG fan club episode and it was hilarious. Like I've seen all those clips obviously, but to see them like back to back, it brought me back to the streams and it was a good time. So shout out to our wonderful producer for that. And I hope everyone enjoyed it because then we can continue to put those out. The playback is on YouTube now. I'm excited about tonight's show. We're getting into wrestling families. I think that's something we've all wanted to talk about. I know Seindole was really hyped to talk about it. And it's very good time. I just watched the Graham family Dark Side episode, which was wild. The bloodline storyline and wrestling is a family business at the end of the day. So I can't wait to get into that. Hey Dre. We got the BRP 50 that just came out. So it's a lot to talk about. So as everyone comes to the fan club, make sure you invite all your friends. Hashtag TWG fan club. What's going on in the TWG universe? A lot as always.
Oh,
So Krista B, shout out to her. She has a new show out right now that will be exclusively on Patreon for a while. So make sure you are subscribed. It $1 a month to support Patreon. We're just trying to buy wrestling t-shirts, but support. There's a lot of cool content on there. Brian and I did a follow-up to our Raw Women's Championship retrospective. We covered the SmackDown Women's Championship, so that'll be coming out. Sound off replays weekly. It's going down. We have a lot of fun episodes. We just dropped our Raw Women's Championship episode everywhere. We're gearing up for Thirsty Thursday next month. That's a lot going on. So we're excited about everything as always. And you're right, pro wrestling is hot right now. I am like
hey
all
Keith. Shout out to Keith in the chat.
okay. I am all in right now. It's a beautiful thing, and to be able to celebrate Black wrestling this week. Shout out to Black Wrestling Podcast. We love wrestling, and everyone that helped make the BRP 50 what it was. It's been a beautiful thing to celebrate. The rollout, the graphics, the shout out to the Source magazine, like that all like when you say for the culture, that's what that whole thing is. And it's always been a polarizing list, putting 50 Black wrestlers, ranking them and then having the after 50 in these spotlights, like that takes a lot of work. And the fact that it's really hard to put 50 wrestlers on a list because there's definitely that Black wrestling renaissance. Shout out to Mimi and the articles that she has been writing to celebrate. It's been a beautiful thing. Like, look at this. What was
It's
your reaction when
beautiful.
y'all seen this? Because I was living.
The first thing that popped up in my head, I'm not gonna lie to you, was Kendrick Lamar's "We Gonna Be All Right," and I think I even like put that in my stories. I was like, "Yo, this is that vibe. This is the stuff that like, this is the vibe that's always been. This is what it's really been all about. It's not to separate, it's to appreciate, if you will. Like that's the vibe that I've always gotten from the top 50, and they once again this year nailed it. Couldn't do no wrong in my eyes. The article that Mimi had on JanaCon was one of the best reads I've seen this year. And that's coming off like people like Brother Brian and Seahawk and them writing great articles. Like that article really hit. I was like, I've learned a lot. And that's what it's really all about. We're just trying to get the name out there, just trying to get people to learn what you know and more of what you did not know. So I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. And like you said, Siendo, I'm glad you touched on the familiar faces and then the non-familiar faces because you do get to discover great talent, but it's also really dope to see some of your people on there, especially indie wrestlers that you've seen wrestle their ass off for years and they have it, and to see them way. Like shout out to Darius Carter. Of course, 50, number 50, bro.
Yes.
Cracking the 50. Like, I am so
Hey.
proud of him. And he June 19th happens to be his birthday. So
Oh,
I couldn't think
nice.
of a better birthday present than to have made this list. I couldn't be more proud of him. I'm shooting for the top 50% next year. Like, I'm hoping that that's gonna be, where he lands. I can't wait to see where he lands on the PWI since last year. It's been a big year for Bougie. He's about to become a father. Shout out to
Wow.
Shayla. So yeah, we were definitely gonna take a minute and give Bougie his flowers. He's family. And congratulations to every
Brr, 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 brr.
thank you. Congratulations to everyone who made the list. It's a beautiful thing. And again, shout out to Black Wrestling and We Love Wrestling for all the work that they did on that. They have not released the top 10 yet, which is very exciting to build the anticipation. But here are some of the women that made the list. We had to give a second and shout out the Black women that made this list.
Yes.
How did it? Who stood out to you and you were like, yes?
Well, always gonna be happy for the Renegade Twins because
I
those are
knew
my
you was gonna
girls.
say
Always
that.
gonna be happy for them. 10, 10 cents across the board. They are my faves. Very, very interesting to see Trinity and where she's at. Given the year that she's had is great that she's also still cracked top 50. You already know you know already feel how I feel about Savannah James. Child. Yeah, you know. Savannah Evans, sorry. Savannah
Yes.
Evans. You already know how I feel about her. But Jade Cargill is interesting to me. And that's why
Mhm.
I'm gonna be excited to watch the show because I want to hear the definition of this
Right.
ranking. Because this one sticks out to me the most. And its
Mm.
placement sticks out to me the most.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Can you pull that back? Go ahead, Brian.
real quick, just a couple things I just wanted to add on. We shouted out Mimi for the article, but I also want to give props to a good friend of ours, somebody we definitely got a chance to connect with in Los Angeles, California, and that's the one and only Mr. Andreas Hale,
No,
who
yeah.
also
Yes.
wrote an article.
Yes.
Just I love reading, and thank you, Seindole, for the kind words. But I love wrestling, but I also love reading about it. I love hearing what people have to say. I also want to give credit to Jedi Jack Yeti for the artwork of that. So obviously, credit goes to Fan Math Drip and
Also,
my
Mr. We Are
co-host
Wrestling
Cal.
also
Yeah,
had his involvement in there.
oh yeah, I was definitely gonna give credit to Terry, because they've been partnering on this. And like Jay Bougie said, last year he was on the after 50, but this year this is 50. Make sure y'all use that hashtag. This is 50. I can't wait for the
Love
t-shirt.
it.
Um, and by the way, I'm gonna do a cheap plug for your wear. You can get you a J
That
Bougie.
is a
Everything
really cool
bougie. Let me
design.
move the
I
mic.
love that.
We love it. We love
That
to
is
plug the
really
merch.
cool. Oh, I
E-
love
We
it.
love a good merch plug.
We love it.
Everything bougie, summer of bougie. Make sure y'all use the hashtag. But on this list, right, for the women who stood out to me was Shalonce Royale. She wasn't on last year's list, and we know I, I'm glad that she was able to really put OVW on the map, right? We always talk
Yes.
about the shimmers, the reality of wrestling, um I've just drew a blank, but the Battle Club Pros. We always talk about these promotions, right? Then
Mhm.
we talk about the NWAs and some of the historic promotions, but OVW has history too. It has a long lineage, and for a black woman to hold the championship 300 days, we did celebrate her here at the
Mhm.
fan club. But for her to make this list, I thought was incredible. I'm interested to see what happens because Jay Cargill dropped, right? So
Yeah.
I'm interested to
I
see
think we all are.
who peeped the top 10 last year. Jade
Yeah.
was number 3. So and what this shows me is the level of dedication that they put on the list. Because of course I'm biased, right? I feel
Right.
like Jay Bougie should be number 1. I feel like he's the number 1 black wrestler. But
Oh,
I
right.
understand, you are what you're wrestling the competition, who you wrestle, and that's what I saw when Jay dropped. Obviously, she didn't lose during their ranking period.
Right.
But she didn't have as many as the stuff that we talked about here. So that lets us know that there's a lot of diligence that goes in this. And
Right.
that's the reason why, not
Hmm.
just because black wrestling is family, but it's a lot of due diligence that goes into this, a lot of time, a lot of effort. So I'm excited to see what they give us.
Me too. This is such a good time, yo. It really, really, really is. And catch Club 8:35 tomorrow night. Watch their stream. We will definitely be in the comments as well. We get to hear their
Definitely.
commentary on the list. Some of the uh polarizing aspects of creating such a list. But before we change gears, I do want to bring up the rest of the crew and hear what Justin thought of the list. Hey, Justin.
Justin, my
Welcome.
Puerto Rican brother.
It has been a minute. What's good?
I
Well,
know. I missed your
Oh,
face. So as we have very similar tastes, having grown up in the Bronx and music and all that shit. How did you feel when you saw that source cover inspired black wrestling? Like, come on.
BX.
Come on.
I mean, this is right up my alley because I grew up on the Source and
Hmm.
XL and Vibe and all this shit. So when I saw the cover, literally told Black Wrestling, like I tweeted this out, and so did Victor Perry. Shout out to him too. We were like, yo, whoever's in charge, who do we gotta pay? Who do I gotta send the PayPal to? I need this in poster form. I need this hanging in my office because this is
Yes.
badass. This reminds me of back in the day where it's like, you know, the freshman covers and stuff like that. Who we should be paying attention to and shit like that. Where it's like, yo, this is
mm,
nostalgia all the way.
Hmm.
The triple, it really does give me like. Remember when they used to come out with the triple XL freshman class?
Hmm.
Like that's what it gave me, and I was just like, oh, nostalgia. That's what I love. You gotta have some like. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of nostalgia, and that's why I think where this was going, because we're being nostalgic with these lists, but we're also in the wave of a new era. We're so many new people on this list, and people weren't where they were last year. This is a good time, and I'm glad they dropped it on Juneteenth because hello, be proud to be black 24/7 365, honey.
Yeah,
No other place to be.
for
Hmm.
sure. Who do you guys see being number one?
Oh,
Bianca.
Oh, that's pretty obvious,
you
Yeah,
actually.
think it's
I think she's
Bianca?
going back to back. I
I
think
mean,
You
she's
it
going
think
back
has
to back.
to
Mellow?
be. It's
I could.
just the
I thought
time and
Mellow.
area she's been killing it.
I'm
Mello.
thinking Mellow. I'm thinking
I
Mellow.
think Mello's top three.
Ooh.
No, I think Mellow's one.
All right, last year he was six. I think he makes an increase.
But look at what he's done since six versus what he's done up to today. Like he's
Um,
accomplished a lot.
Bianca only lost one match, Seindole.
You right. You're right. You're
and,
right. You're right.
and
Listen,
WrestleMania carries weight. SummerSlam carries weight. Royal Rumble carries weight.
Yeah. I think Bianca might take the cake. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to all the fan club VIP in the building. Black Thoughts, you already choosing violence, so I'm just gonna welcome you in. Also, shout out
why are
to
you
you.
doing
You've been killing it at House of Glory, and I
which
promise
one will be
I
in
will
attendance with
I
soon?
will make it to a show very soon. But you've been killing it, so congratulations to you. And I'm gonna leave it
See,
at that.
Andre agrees.
And
He thinks
hopefully,
it's
there's no
mellow.
Bronx slander tonight.
Andre agrees that it's mellow. So
I could see that. I could see that.
I'm
That would be
saying.
a nice swerve too,
Mm-hmm.
It
because
depends on
he's
the
skyrocketing.
grading criteria. Like
Yeah.
when are we grading this? From what start date to what end date?
They
Mm,
start as soon as they drop their 50, don't they? Well, they start as soon as they drop the edition.
mm,
Like it's like a full 365 process from what I understand. Like they start rating as soon as everybody knows who's on the list. So it depends on what type of
yeah.
year they both had. I could agree. I could see what Brian's saying. Like it definitely could be Bianca here, but I just think of how I think of also they look at as far as growth, and I look
Mhm.
at Melo's growth, and it's up there. So it's tough
Mhm.
to see, but let's see. We know it's not poor Bobby because Lord, every time they put Bobby up, they bring him right back down.
Well, Bobby gonna be a top 10 though. I think
Yeah,
Bobby
Oh,
will be a top 10. You know, but I definitely, honestly, I think back to back years we'll get women. Never mind. That's tough. I was thinking we'd get women in the top three. I really think Mercedes should be a top 3, but I can see why she's
Mm,
not
But
because of the
she
time
was hot
period.
for like such a small amount of
Yeah,
more
time.
months on
but
time, yeah.
the eyeballs she bought. That's the thing, right? So this is gonna be fun. I'm excited for it.
It's just it
Yeah.
depends on that period because again, if you're going like let's say the beginning of last summer to where we're at now, Mercedes was inactive for at least 6 months. You that
Mhm.
Right.
alone is like you can't put her top 3, and I
And it's the
love
same.
Mercedes.
Yeah, that's why I could understand where Mercedes ranks that because of her inactivity. But as far as Mercedes goes, Mercedes has only had what, like one, well, I would say two clean wins. So it's tough to say she's gonna be top 3. I mean top 10 definitely, but let's just see
One,
Yeah.
two.
what happens.
Let's say top 10. But I'm
Yeah.
excited. We'll definitely tune in to see who are the top 10 best black wrestlers in the world. We will find out tomorrow. So I want to before we move on to, legendary wrestling families, I want to take a moment and just express my pure obsession with Trish Stratus. Like I am like all in. Like so this is her 110th magazine cover, and for some reason I don't
Mhm.
know why I think it would be more. Look how beautiful she looks. I could go on and on and on and on about how much I'm in love with Trish Stratus right now, but the fact that she is what in her 40s, she is a living legend and she has come back full time wrestling, selling
Mhm.
for these girls, turning heel, moving the needle, working with Becky Lynch, and she's gonna be in a Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay,
Yeah, this
does
Money in the Bank ladder match is
anyone
gonna be
ever
interesting.
have that on their fucking bingo card that Trish Stratus would be in a ladder match? Like hashtag thank you Trish. Like every day, everybody needs to wake up after they thank God, thank Trish Stratus.
Thank you,
Okay,
Trish.
I am like obsessed, but I'm I just love her.
Well, I'm
Oh,
always
it's
gonna
time to
be
rock and
a
roll.
huge fan. She's in my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. But goodness gracious, I mean, Money in the Bank. I look, Justin. I love you, brother. I was all in. I was like, I'm ready. This is Zelina Vega. It's time. And I still believe she'll hold that briefcase well, but it's kind of hard for me not to see Trish Stratus walking around with that
She got
briefcase.
her hitter in the match.
She got her hitter.
So
And,
it's like,
and long as Zoe act right, because she still got a lot to learn from Trish. It's
mhm.
kind of like Randy Orton, kind of having to do what he was supposed to do so Triple H could retain the world championship in the Elimination Chamber. You know, Fall
So
in line,
y'all know I'm a menace, right?
huh?
Y'all know I'm a menace, like secretly a menace. Why am I like hoping for Io Shirai to just pop the shit out of Bailey like one good time, like sis,
I
like
do
just
too.
just
Well,
just
It's
pip hand her ass, tell her to go outside and sit
I'm
in the
gonna
corner. So let me do this shit,
let me explain.
because the way that Io Shirai has been slowly getting like these pops little
Mhm.
by little, I'm like, come on, I'm like, come on, just to like, I hate it for Bailey because I'm a Bailey stan, but like at the same time, I'm like,
it's
yeah,
time
fight,
for that. I want Io Shirai to
fight.
stand on her own. I think I want to see more of the Io Shirai from like NXT.
Mhm.
Not, and
Same.
I think Backlash was a great eye opener into like what she's capable of doing, and there are people that are behind her. So it's time, Bailey. Bailey's Bailey. So let Io Shirai do her thing.
They're gonna be fine.
It's
I do feel
time,
like
but
this
that doesn't
ladder
mean she's
match.
getting that briefcase. I'm
No,
just
yeah, yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say that. I think it's gonna set the stage for somebody breaking up, whether it's Bailey and Io. It's not gonna be a part of who wins the briefcase. Like Trish and Becky, that's gonna be their thing. I don't think either of them are gonna win the briefcase,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be.
I'm
Let
just say this. I
that.
think we get what we want, what we've been wanting when we talk about Money in the Bank. When I look at these contestants and
Mm-hmm.
I think about who holds these beautiful titles,
Oh, gorgeous.
I think that whoever wins the briefcase will hold it at least for 2 months. I don't
For
see
someone,
nobody. Yeah,
I
at
would.
least I don't see nobody cashing in on the night of, just because there's still so much room to grow with those champions, right?
Yeah.
Oscar, unless Charlotte wins, but still, you still got Bianca right
No.
there, right? So either way, nobody cashing in on the WWE Women's Champion. And I mean, the belt was made for Rhea Ripley, at least to hold it for a while. She got to go on
right?
the press tour. So whoever wins, I think we're going to get Rhea and Raquel Rodriguez. You know, if I had to take a guess, so we can have 2 women's matches. I just think when it's all said and done, I think whoever wins that briefcase walks out with it. And then the women's championship match is on the night before. So if they haven't made Rhea and Raquel, so they might not even have a match. So we might have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
I
As
didn't
long
look at
as
it that way.
someone holds it, because we've talked about this on previous fan clubs. Like, Carmelo's the only person to hold this briefcase longer than 24 hours, which
Right.
is cool, because it's like, oh man, we get that immediate pop, that cash in, and all that. But then there goes your briefcase, and
Right.
you can no longer use that. Versus you have it go longer than 24 hours, you can actually make a storyline out of it, like how we did with Carmelo. Will she? Won't she? And whatnot.
For so long. It's an easy. It's a vehicle for a story that I don't know why they don't utilize more. So hopefully somebody like Zelina or somebody's gonna be entertaining like a Trish. I hope they win it. But shall we take a break and get into who do you consider the most influential wrestling family and why? I'm
Word.
very curious to hear because there's so many different elements to it. It's what era you're talking about, what area of wrestling are you referring to? So this is one of my favorite topics, so I can't wait to get into it. So let's take this break and we'll be right back. What's up, everybody? It's those wrestling girls here, Krista B with Queen PR, and we have Miss Shayna Baszler with us. How are you feeling today?
Shayna B.
Krista B, Shayna B. That's it. That's it.
The Queen of Spades.
Yes, that's it. We're here. Like now it's 3 of us. Now you have to watch it for the 3 of us. But how you feeling today?
I mean, it's crazy. I'll probably like knock out after this because it's been all nitrous burning. But yeah, I mean, it's WrestleMania week.
It's WrestleMania week. Like
That was so much fun.
it really was. Thank you for pulling that up. I didn't expect that.
I mean, you know, that was on Patreon first, right?
It was, and she was one of my favorite wrestling encounters in LA just because she was so nice, so approachable. I always thought she was hilarious, and she's very much funny, as you can see. So shout out to Shayna, that was great.
I mean, she's like one of those. Oh, sorry, go ahead. She's one of those people, like, she knows she can rip you in half, so she could just have fun at like
Right.
Shayna Baszler.
You have to say it like that. She's like, she can rip you in half, but she's really cool.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen was
limbs, but she's all right.
Yeah, shout out to her. I want to start with Dylan because he already put it in, and I just want to kind of get the McMahon family.
Yes, let's get into it.
I want to start with that because you know.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yes.
If we weren't about to get flagged on YouTube, I would have told Brian to totally download the Succession theme song. Because I swear, when that show started, I'm like, it's gotta be about Vince McMahon. Because then like Shane be giving Logan Roy energy because he was like funny, but then he was like serious. And then Stephanie, she wasn't no Shiv. She was like a combo of like, if anybody who knows Succession lingo in the chat, please let me know if I'm correct. She's not Shiv. She's somebody else. She be giving her godmother. I forgot her godmother's name. The one that
Terry?
Yes, she be giving Terry vibes.
Terry. She's definitely
so Terry. I thought this show was like about the McMahons, but it's not.
Yeah.
I was disappointed.
I can definitely see the similarities, but one thing I will say about the McMahon family, and I know Vince is controversial, whatever. As I grew up in New York, so Madison Square Garden is a part of the fabric of New York City. And when I learned recently that my great grandmother was a wrestling fan, that I was named after. My dad waited this long to tell me. They used to go to MSG and watch wrestling. So the McMahon family, like I feel like we kind of grew up with them because the lineage they have in wrestling. And say what you want to say, wrestling will not be mainstream. WWE would not be mainstream if it wasn't for the innovative thinking that Vince McMahon did. And no, he's not a perfect person. I would no. But the only thing I will say
What
about Vince,
CEO is? Let's be real.
right? And when you innovate an industry the way that Vince McMahon did, you're going to be eccentric, you're going to be one of a kind, you're not going to be you're going to be a complicated person because the world wrestling is such a unique business, and then to be able to also have the business savvy to make it marketable to where I don't in certain spaces because people are just ignorant. I don't have to say I'm a wrestling fan. I can say, oh, I watch WWE. That makes sense to them. That makes more sense to them to say I watch wrestling. So there's like so many different things, like from a marketing standpoint, that I respect. And my childhood, like I literally grew up with Stephanie and Shane. I feel like they feel like my siblings almost, and just the fact that Stephanie was Vince's heir apparent and the one that was probably more likely to take over as opposed to his son, and that's just from like a female empowerment standpoint. I always love that. And it's a family business that created like lifelong memories for us.
No facts. When you sit back and think about everything that they've done over the years,
Mm-hmm.
we would without Vince McMahon's work ethic, without Stephanie McMahon's work ethic, you don't get these podcasts. You don't get some of the friendships you have.
Mm-hmm.
We like to think, okay, maybe our paths would have crossed somewhere else, but wrestling brought us together, and then we find out, oh wait, we have other interests in common. But it's just crazy because like we always talk about sports bring people together, but so does wrestling. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think about like he always talk about had his dad knew what he was going to do, he would have like not sold him the company. But just that foresight, and you think about like remember when WWE wanted to have the cable channel and
Mm-hmm.
the networks wouldn't trust them. They're like, no, y'all don't have TV
Yeah.
people. So Vince McMahon said, okay, fine, I'll create my own network like
Mm-hmm.
Netflix, and then everybody else started
Ahead
following
of its
suit.
time. And not only
Mhm.
to mention technology, they were one of the first to have a website. They were some of the first to have
Mhm.
like the call-in hotlines. Like they took advantage of every technology that came around. Like, let's think about how they evolved with the pandemic. And I know this is not about WWE, it's about the McMahon family, but it's kind of intertwined. And it was a jolt when it was sold because I was like, it's kind of still like honestly unbelievable to me that
Mhm.
it's not like, and now that it's like owned by like a company that like it's weird,
We
but
once saw like UFC was once considered their competition, and
right.
now they work together.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
But you always heard from word on the street, Dana White would always give Vince McMahon props and say
Oh
that's
yeah.
somebody like he looked up to,
Oh
and
yeah.
and people will say like, there's a now we know that Double H tends to fabricate a lot of things, but
Mhm.
in his book there's a line he said that seems accurate, and it was if Vince McMahon could be making love to his wife, and if you called during that time
Hey
about wrestling, he
No, but
would
I
answer the
heard
phone.
that too. But that's how devoted he was to everything. Like even you talk about like, think about it. Tough Enough
Mhm.
itself set up like a kind of what's the right word?
Counterpart?
Catapult. Yeah,
Oh, catapulted.
it catapulted every single qualified to win reality show out to date because mind you at the same time what was going on Survivor, so you were either in
Yeah.
Survivor. If you were a wrestling fan, you heard about Tough Enough, and when Tough Enough ended up on MTV, that was huge because what had happened right after that, you had the World Rules Challenge. Look at how many seasons the challenge is doing. Like
Still
it
going.
catapulted a lot of shows. You turn on USA now, half of USA is a competition, survival of the fittest show. Like Tough Enough was so unique in its time. Why? Because people knew about WCW, they knew about like the power plant, right? but it was more grit and more hard hitting on Tough Enough because you got Triple H saying up there like, yo, straight up, you can't wrestle. If you don't want to really be, if you don't got the chops, get the fuck out of here. Don't waste my fucking time. And then look at all the people that catapulted off of Tough Enough. Like, look at where the Miz is at. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Miz is the perfect poster child. He is must see television because of shows like that. And you think about Bite This, you think about, even it's an article one time when there used to be like a free library website, and you used to go and see old articles from back in the day. So remember the Dark Side of the Ring episode about Schultz and the slap heard around the world?
Yep.
There's a press conference they talk about, and it's about maybe 3 months after he did what he did, and it's them in Rutherford in what would be built to be the Continental Airlines Arena, and then it turns to the eyes on them. Unfortunately, it's no more. Hopefully, to come back soon. Of them breaking ground in that place, and the first thing that WWE, they see WWE, they see Linda McMahon, and they see the Undertaker, and the Undertaker is there, out of the ring, out of the character, which is also unheard of because no superstar really made appearances like that to any press or anything of its kind. And it was them literally advertising that with this new arena, they promised to come to an arena like this in New Jersey every year, once a year. Nobody was doing that except WWE. Like WCW didn't hop up and say, "Oh, we're gonna leave our humble abode in,
Are you laughing at
Florida."
Vaughn, really?
I'm not selling that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, we're not going to leave Florida, but they were like, "No, we can make this journey
Yeah.
back up here." First of all, who's coming to New Jersey all the time? First of
Right.
all, second of all, they had the Undertaker literally there, like caressing the guy doing the press conference and impressing the like governor of New
And
Jersey.
like
But who
only
would
the
think that?
McMahons will have that foresight. And one thing that I feel like we'll notice when we talk about the wrestling families is the lineage of the business
Mm,
is their family history, which is like the McMahons. Like that's how you know them. Like his father's a boxing promoter, and then yeah, it's a long lineage. But shout out to the McMahons. I want to get to another family that I first became kind of fascinated by them when I got back into wrestling maybe like 10 years ago and I learned about the Von Erichs. So I grew up
mm,
watching WWE. So I was not familiar with the Von Erich family. I was like, oh, okay, Texas. Oh, okay, cool, cool. But then hearing like they were like rock stars, they were like
mm.
the Beatles.
They had Darius
Did
Bryan.
you guys know about them before? And then we'll get into some of the tragedies. But how did you guys feel? Were you guys fans?
First time I heard about the Von Erichs, I remember watching like one of those Dateline TV shows that I
Mhm.
was sitting in my grandmother's kitchen and it felt like it was like a night like this, like raining or something. And she was like, "Oh, the Von Erichs." I'm like, "It's wrestling," so I'm already like locked in. And then they did like the little 10-minute segment or whatever, and that's when I learned about them. And when I went back, it was the W World Class DVD. I bought that, and it's basically like Dark Side of the Ring. Obviously, Dark Side of the Ring is just more updated, newer interviews and stuff. I was like, man, this is crazy. And the very first wrestling show that I did, with obviously his name, my cousin Bear, back in the day, like we're talking 2010, we did an episode called Deaths in Professional Wrestling, and he like broke everything down and like how the father, just having to go through everything, losing all his sons, and like my cousin is 6 years older than me, so he like lived. I always used to call him a wrestling encyclopedia. But when I first learned about how everybody like loved David and what's that,
Carrie?
always goes into this, right? Yeah, but like Kerry, I always say, like I said this before a few episodes ago, Kerry Bonner would become the Texas tornado. He's somebody that I just look at, and you know how like you look at somebody like, oh, if I was watching wrestling then, he would have been my favorite. I always say that about him. And that's probably like the first time I ever remember like learning about a suicide. I didn't know about a name, but I remember reading and hearing about like, oh, the WWE wrestler Texas tornado killed himself. But like I said, I can see why you were like fascinated by them, but that was the first time I learned about
Yeah. Because I never saw or just me being kind of like naive. Like I never saw uh that a wrestling family could be like hometown like celebrities
Mm-hmm.
almost, like just as famous as like the Jacksons, and like that's how much these people mean to them, where they watched them grow up. And when the tragedies was happening, like that town in Texas, it felt like their own family members and their grandsons and their nephews and their friends happened. So that was such a tragedy. But also they did that in Texas. Anyone that wrestled in Texas, I was just watching a bunch of legends, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, they all talk about the Von Erichs and growing up watching them.
Nice.
So I do appreciate that. Hey Letty.
Letty,
Everybody
what
shout
up?
out Letty. So since she's in the building, let's talk
Sis, let
about
it.
the bloodline. Because I
We're
feel
just gonna get
like
right into it, huh?
yeah, because if you're gonna talk about wrestling families, you
We
gotta talk about
gotta.
the
If we're gonna
bloodline.
talk about the bloodline, we need to talk about it by its proper soap opera title, like
And
the one
what is
that
it?
Justin gave it.
The Bold, the Beautiful, and the Bloodline.
Thank you. We need like a. We need like a. Every time we talk about it, we need like a dramatic music fall.
Yeah.
So let me the like the mind swirl behind this genius of a story. Mind you,
Well, see, wait,
like
wait,
I
wait. I'm
said,
gonna stop, Sando. I'm gonna stop you because I don't want to go into the storyline because we talk
okay,
about it a lot. I want to talk about the Anoai family,
okay,
the
Mm.
real bloodline, because it go way
it
back,
go way back.
way back. Like
Jeez.
it's kind of crazy the family tree. WWE just put out a YouTube video recently of the Usos explaining the family tree, and I still feel like I couldn't really remember
I
and
still don't
follow
get
it
it.
because it goes back.
I need a
Yeah.
Venn diagram just to keep up with this.
You
Like,
know
not
what's
gonna
messed up?
lie.
So like this is when we talk about like keep it kayfabe, right? Keeping kayfabe goes wrong. I had a full blown argument with somebody because somebody was trying to say that Yokozuna was really not Japanese, and I was like, yes, he is. Why would they have like somebody pretend to be Japanese, right? And so the guy that I was arguing with was he's actually in somewhat related to like the he's somewhat related to The Rock. And I said, no, he's not. He's Japanese. Like, what are you guys talking about? And lo and behold, because I didn't want like to ruin the kayfabe for myself, I one day Googled it and I was like, oh my God, they really had this man
Hmm.
playing a Japanese wrestler and he's really Samoan. Wow. I was like, okay.
Vince. There you
You
Wait,
go.
can't
Brian,
tell me. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, what you about to say?
Do you know, like, for the most part, the lineage? Like, you know who, like, Rikishi's, like, all of that?
So sorta.
Okay.
Because I've like kind of like studied, but I don't remember everything offhand. But to follow by pictures, right? So
Mhm.
the the story is like the high chief. There's one side that says like it's blood, but then they say like the Rock isn't blood. But for the case of this, like the high chief is like the most respected, right? The high chief Peter Maivia. But as far as we'll start with like the Wild Samoans, right? You see them in the picture with Roman, and then their sister is Rikishi's mother.
Mhm.
I mean, their sister's Rikishi's mother, who also had oh man, he's not in here. The Tongan kid, I think. Or I could be wrong, but like he was in WWE. He did like a hot cup of coffee in the mid '90s, right? I believe he also replaced Samu for a little bit. Samu and Rikishi or Fatu is the ones that's the tag title champions. They the ones in there with Yokozuna. Y'all know um Fatu or AK Rikishi is also part of the BSK with the Undertaker.
Right.
And like I said, you got the Wild Samoans. Wild Samoan Alpha, which is he's the one who had Alpha Jr., who was Manu in WWE. Wild Samoan Sika is Roman's father, and he was also one of the fathers of 2 Minute Warning, Umaga. And then Umaga's son is one that's getting ready to wrestle now. I'm not sure exactly. I would think I'm not sure exactly where Jacob Fatu, that's the guy on the Indies, where he jumps in, like far as who his parent is. And
Mhm.
but You know, he's obviously a cousin. You see the picture with Lance on Hawaii, you know, down there. So then you have like, you know, obviously you got The Rock from, you know, Rocky Johnson. That's their in-laws. So then the Usos, obviously Rikishi, and same with Solo. They
Yeah.
descendants of Rikishi.
Is
And
Tamina a part of the Anoa'i family?
so Tamina is from Jimmy Snuka, but Snuka isn't in the Anoa'i family. I think it's more like that, you know, that bond.
Yeah, got you. Okay. Interesting. Yeah,
See, you
this
just sat
lineage
there and
goes.
explained all this, and all that's coming to my head is the fucking Spider-Man meme where it's like, that one's Samoan, that one's related, that one's related. Like, that's all that comes to mind because it's like, bro, how many Anois are there?
It's a
Okay,
lot.
Black
Oh,
Thoughts. Okay, that's where he
Rosie.
connects it. So Sika's other son is Rosie. Rosie, I
Rosie.
believe. So okay, Rosie is Sika's other son.
Hmm.
Okay,
Got
now it don't make sense. Okay, got it.
Hmm.
I wasn't getting
And
it before, but now I'm getting it.
yeah, and they have had a long lasting relationship with the McMahon family as well. And as you can see, the new generation of Bloodline is carrying on that legacy beautifully. They've been able to tie it into one of the most captivating wrestling storylines ever.
It-
What's up,
it-
Justin?
oh,
I thought Justin raised his hand.
No, I was throwing up
No,
a
he was
one.
acknowledging the he's
What? I
acknowledging
was
the tribal
about.
chief. Girl.
no, I was gonna say this though.
Has it been that long that we forgot to acknowledge our tribal chief?
Yeah, Tribal Chief
Yeah,
has
he's
been getting
been
some
taking a
hits.
lot of backs. He's been backstabbed a lot, way too many
Yeah, but
times.
we
He's still
still
turning his
acknowledge him
back.
here. But
He
you know, I was
always
gonna say that there was a time when we felt like Roman was being forced down throat, and a
right.
lot of that
He
was
was.
was was this an apology for the way previous members of the Samoan family was treated? You know
Mm.
what I mean? Because you think about, all right, Yokozuna was the most famous person of that bloodline, but he couldn't be Samoan. He had to be Japanese, right? A
Mm.
lot of people were saying Umaga should have been a WWE champion. Personally, I didn't see it at the time, but that's neither here nor there. He had a main event run with John Cena. You know, even with the Wild Samoans as tag champions or the Head Shrinkers as tag champions, you never got like that lengthy dominant run that we get from the Usos now. So a lot of people thought in 2015, like, is this Vince McMahon's way of apologizing? Because if you watch one of the documentaries, you hear Yokozuna's mother was upset at
Mm.
WrestleMania 9
Mm.
because they knew, okay, Yoko's going over. This is his big moment. Oh no, I'm taking it away. Now he got it at King of the Ring, but which
The King of the
ironically
Ring's
was
not
30 years ago.
WrestleMania.
It's not
Yeah.
WrestleMania,
It's like a
you know?
consolation prize.
Yeah. So that was the thing. A lot of people thought, like, well, maybe this is Vince McMahon's way of apologizing. And so he's going to give us Roman Reigns. But, you know, I mean, he was right because look what Roman's doing now.
Mm-hmm. With
Mhm.
the whole love the tribal chief.
Somebody asked about what about The Rock?
That's a good. I mean,
Because The Rock and Tamina are like actually cousins, right?
So, like I said, I always look at it and, you know, I'm not questioning them. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, like I'm real cool with Lance Anoai. Shout out Jay Bougie beat him in December. But I'm not going to say, hey, yo, is you last time you talked to The Rock? Do you ever talk to The Rock? Is The Rock really your cousin? You know, I just, hey, they say he family, he family. I know what the, you know, these family trees will say and show,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's very intense, interested, and to me, they are the number one wrestling family.
that's okay. That's
Bold.
strong. But I
I
mean,
mean,
can
it's
Bold.
a fair
can you
assessment when you look at, like, we just talked about generations and generations and generations, and you look at what the bloodline's doing. We just went an entire calendar year where all the bloodline members, Roman Reigns and the Usos, held the fucking top titles in WWE for an entire calendar year. Name another time any wrestling family has done that at the same time.
right, right.
Mhm.
That's 100% true. So one thing, shout out to Young Rock. It got canceled, but it was
R.I.P.
so good. It was so good. And it made me more obsessed with the Anoai family because it really showed, his grandmother running the promotions and his entire family. So it was really cool. There was even a little Roman cameo. um
That was
It was
funny.
even a Roman cameo, so it was cute. But why I brought that up is because I love hearing about strong women in this business. And when they talk about the Rock's grandmother, the Rock's mother, like those are the rocks of the family. No pun intended. Those are the rocks of the family. They are the rocks of the business. They keep things together. So I always loved how much they respected the women and like the Rock's family and that family in general.
I
That
found the tree.
Yeah.
I was searching for this.
How
I
big is
found
the
it.
tree?
Oh, great,
It's
great.
covered. My
Is it
bad.
is
Like
it
I
a
was.
little tree or is it
Hey,
like a big ass oak
CRISPA.
tree that has like 19,000 branches on it?
You about to
Right.
see in 2 seconds. Two
Oh
seconds.
my god.
Ooh,
Wow.
look
Lord
at
So
have
that.
and you see if
mercy.
the like so
Holy
right.
hell.
I wish this had like a pointer thing, but there's a
Right?
thing that says
Okay.
blood brothers, and that's how they connect
Oh,
um
okay.
the Wild Samoans parents to the
Thank
Mavias.
you, Dre. I remember you telling
Okay,
me.
so the Mavas in that, so they're blood brothers, and
Yeah,
that's how that family. Okay,
that's
then it
what it
makes
says,
sense.
blood brothers. So
This is
Okay,
and
so interesting.
yeah,
it
like
is.
hmm and I think the first time I looked at this didn't have like some of Rakishi's sons. So it's like, they still adding.
Mm,
Right,
how
right. Because
you?
none of the Rock's children are even on
And I
here.
was going to say, and like I said, I was going through a bunch. I'm like, well, I'm trying to find the right one, or find one that would let me, import the image. But it's very fascinating. And like you was going, P, you talked about the women. As you see the Rock's grandmother, you see his mother right up there, Ata Maria, Ata Maivia. You see, Leah Maivia. So this is definitely interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, it really, really is. Real quick before we move on to the next family, I want to shout out the Jarrett family because they also have done a lot. It's a lot of history with Jeff Jarrett and his father, but his grandmother, Jeff Jarrett's grandmother, was the one that was the promoter, which I just thought was so cool. And she didn't want any of her sons to get into the wrestling business, as it always is. And she rocked it. And the way Jeff Jarrett talks about his grandmother and like the respect that she held and the close relationship that even she had with the McMahons at one point is really cool to see for sure. And Jeff Jarrett too, like he's still getting a check. Like
We about to have
He
a whole
looks pretty
concession
good in
street
AEW,
fight
so
he
tonight
hit the
against.
scene and was like, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
here to stay."
you about
Whoever,
to have a whole concession street fight with the Briscoe. So listen, him money. He said this money long and far. Put me wherever you want.
But he
okay,
still looks good though. Like when you look
Yes,
mhm.
at
right. I'm not
Jeff
like,
they
Jarrett,
oh,
ain't
here
gonna
we go.
play.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be having a last match with a certain wrestler, but like Jeff Jarrett don't look like he should be going somewhere to sit down. But it just goes somebody like take care of his body. And you talk about a heel who was like really good at what they did, but they were so nice.
yeah, for sure. I was able to meet him, and he is really nice. He's so down to earth and like really like a genuine person. So shout out to the Jarrett family.
Yeah, this
Shall
thing I gotta
we?
upload. I tell you, it's just one of those days. I was trying to shout out the Jarrett family.
Oh, did it go? Did it go? Look, see, he doesn't even look bad.
Yo,
Right.
Rest in
wait,
peace to his dad, who I
is
think
that
died.
younger Jeff in the top left? Because it looks a lot like Logan Paul.
What?
You took the words right out of my brain, Justin. I was
No.
just about to say
Wait,
that.
really?
Holy
He's
shit.
low key.
I don't see
If
that.
Logan Paul had a longer mullet and facial hair and less squared ears, you're literally looking at Logan freaking Paul.
Yeah, like if Logan Paul had a stunt double in WWE,
No,
that's what
go
younger
look
Jeff
up
Jarrett looks like.
Logan Paul. Look up Logan Paul after his whole controversy after he got quote unquote canceled. That's how Logan Paul looked when he started podcasting.
Oh my.
Like, are we sure Jeff Jarrett ain't his pappy?
Oh,
Listen, we can't have another one. We got Dominic
he's
going through. You see
really good at
Dominic going
wrestling
through it already,
for
questioning his identity and
sports.
stuff. Can't have that no more.
Look, I'm gonna just say this. In November, Jeff Jarrett was quoted saying Logan Paul's WWE champion works in every kind of way. So maybe he was trying to put his little brother or little cousin over.
You never
Trying to tell us a family
know.
secret we don't know.
Anything is possible in the wrestling business.
Yo,
You
that would
never
be a check.
fucking
You call Jeff Jarrett and be like, hey, Jeff, how you doing at the company? You doing good? I got a storyline for you. Bring this kid Logan Paul in, right? And all I need you to do is pretend to be his daddy. I give you $1 million. You know, Jeff Jarrett would be like,
Oh yeah.
him and his guitar and Karen packing up that limo out the door.
It's like, Karen, grab the good guitar. We're going big time.
This is why we have best of episodes.
I'm trying to tell you because the way that picture was looking, you put the plot twist in the head. I'm
No.
trying to tell you the way that picture looking.
See?
Don't
Little
worry.
sus.
I see
The
things.
25th
Father
season.
Paul, you got something you want to tell us?
They'll be like, we said it on the stream, and it ended up being true.
I'm just saying.
So I want to talk about who some of you guys think is the most influential family, because you say you already claimed yours, Brian. I'm gonna say the McMahons.
Fair.
Who do you say, Justin?
The most influential family. I mean, it's the one that we talk about so many times. There's a fucking dungeon because of this family. The father ran his own
That sounds
promotion.
crazy out of context.
Mhm.
I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
go with the heart.
I'm gonna walk past that because now that I think about that, like, yeah, the man had
He's
a
like, I'm gonna
dungeon's
walk
like, yeah, that
past
kind of go walk past that. But yeah, you have the entire Hart family. You have Natty Neihart, the first woman to come out of the dungeon. You have Stu Hart that basically trained all his damn kids in that dungeon. You have Brett, one of the greatest to ever do it. That really put that family on the back and basically take them to like higher planes. You had Owen that was going to be the one before, God forbid, what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at the legacy. You have Anvil. You have so many different legacies. Tyson Kidd and whatnot, where the generations from Hart Foundation to Brett solo run to Owen solo run to their run in WWE where they were rocking together with Anvil and British Bulldog. You have Natty and basically Natty carrying on that legacy right now in the women's division. You have Tyson before he messed up his neck and what he was doing in the tag team scene. And then you see his influence also behind the scenes as far as producing a lot of these women's matches that we go back and go, yo, that was a banger. Who produced that? Like Tyson Kidd's like the first guy I was actually going back and looking like, who produced this match? Because this was actually really, really fucking good.
Yep.
And that shows like his little
Okay.
imprints on this. But Hart family.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian. Because I know you got something on your mind. Go ahead.
They had one dependable guy, and I can't believe I got to do this because y'all know Bret Hart is one of my favorites of all time.
You
Easily
really
top
don't
three.
have to do it, but go ahead.
But they got they had one dependable person in the entire family, one main eventer, and that was Bret the Hitman Hart. Granted, a dynamic one, top 10 of all time, in my opinion. But the Anoai family had three: Yokozuna, Roman Reigns, and The Rock.
But
You're being-
it's so much
you're being a
more than that,
fan
though. You got to
right
think
now. You
about. But you
can't-
got to think
You gotta
about.
think
the-
about more. I agree
was
with
gonna
you.
go, but
You have look. You have to think about the business, right?
and I'm
You
gonna
have
go
to
there.
think about territories and the lifeline of the business. And without Stu Hart and the dungeon, a lot of our favorite wrestlers don't learn how to wrestle. And it's not even just about being champion, but it's also just about the business. Like Bret Hart and his brothers did every aspect of it, which is probably why Bret had the biggest chip on his shoulder ever, because he was just like, I know everything about wrestling ever. So I feel that's why they're the most influential. We talk about Natty's influence backstage with the women because it's more than the main event status. It's everything else. It's how Stu did business and how no one had anything bad to say about working in his promotion and how wrestlers would survive the terrain to drive through Calgary to support Stu Hart and keep him in business. So that's what I feel like we got to look for with influential. I get your point because I was looking at that photo of all the brothers and I was just like,
But I'm also gonna say this, right? We
Thank
we,
you,
we talked
CRISPA.
we talked about the Rock's grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and how she was, taking over after the high chief, the territories out in, Hawaii and the islands and everything. We also talk about, if we want to talk about tag teams, the Samoan SWAT team, or then the Wild Samoans, dominating in the NWA, dominating in the territories. So it's a lot of ways to look at it. That's why I do, and maybe, and when I think about the Hart families, I think of two things, right? I think of Canada, and then I think of WWE. I don't think about them hitting the NWA circuit the way the Anoai family did. I just feel like, and even now today, and I'm looking at it today, right? The Anoai family, you got Rikishi and his school still dominating. They still, down in reality of wrestling. They got more family coming out, and that's the reason why I give them the edge, is because that's still going. Nobody outside of Natalia, with all due respect to Tyson Kidd, but even Harry Smith, they haven't been able to catch that steam. Nobody else has been able to hit the main event circuit since Bret Hart. And that's where I don't think nobody else is going to go there in the Hart family lineage. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't. But the Anoa'i family, I would definitely say, oh yeah, they got main eventers. They cranking out main eventers like that. There's always been a member of the Anoa'i family since
That's true.
The head shrinkers. There
That's
may have been
true.
a time period between the the Wild Samoans and the head shrinkers, but once the head shrinkers in, Rikishi was always on the roster. Then you had Yokozuna, Rikishi, you had Umaga, obviously The Rock, so forth.
Here's where I counter that, because there's more than just the main event scene. Like, how many people wrestle in AEW right now that say they've been influenced by Bret Hart, or Bret Hart's their favorite wrestler? You got the Revival, you got CM Punk. Sometimes it's more than just the main event scene. You talk about Natty and TJ, but remember, you have Dungeon 2.0 that they basically run, that every time you see Natty's social media, it's Angelo Dawkins training there. It's Lana training there. It's Liv Morgan training there. It's people from NXT training there. It's people from WWE training there. It's people from other promotions, the indie circuits that go to Dungeon 2.0 to train with Natty and Tyson. You have that type of influence as well. That, okay, the Samoan family has more main eventers, but you still see through so many different legs and generations, and Brett's still around. Brett still talks. Brett's still active, to where you see that just influence is still shining. Just,
I feel like Brett would say that the Hart family is the number one most influential
Of
wrestling
course.
family of all
as he
time.
Right.
should.
And you also have to take into accountability, and I hate to talk about the tragedy. Like, they didn't pump out, like, Stu Hart and his family, his kids, their kids weren't all destined to be wrestlers. Like, granted, you have Natty and a couple of her cousins, and then, she met her husband in Dungeon because her husband wanted to be a wrestler, right? You didn't have them cranking out kids left and right, and then them all going, okay, I want to go square up in the ring as soon as I'm legal. Like, that's what, in me, and not to disrespect their family, I understand it's tradition. That's how Samoan culture is. The family normally, if it's unified, it's all, they normally do what everybody is supposed to do. But the Hart family ain't moving like that. Like, the Hart family is trying to spread their influence for what the family dynamic was. And then you have to also give them the credit where it's due. After that tragedy, I don't think everybody's first thought was, I'm going to be a wrestler. Not all of them in that family, because if you look at that family, like Jim Cornette said it best, like, Stu had how many kids? The sons became wrestlers, and the daughters did what? They married wrestlers. So when you look at the way that family's built versus the way that the other families are built, they're built completely different. Like, the best that they can do and give back, like Justin said, is they're literally teaching the people that are in development WWE, teaching the Angel Dawkins and the Lanas and the FTRs and all of them in the world, and showing them what they know the most, because they ain't birthing out no babies. They ain't.
But
It's not.
the same
It ain't a
thing.
factory over there the way it used to be. Like, it's
It's
different.
kind of the same thing. Like, I feel like we're arguing the same thing. Like, Brian, you're saying that there is, I don't know, something's wrong with your camera, Seindole, but like, the future. There's always a Samoan wrestler that's doing it on the main roster in WWE at almost like at all times, it feels like, and they're just coming and coming and coming. But with the Hearts, it's not the same. They kind of like
That's weird
lost.
looking.
It kind of stopped with Bret Hart and Owen Hart and like Natalia, but then at the same time, they're training all of our favorite wrestlers. So it's all in the same argument, you
And if
know?
they're not training them, they're just passing that wisdom on through like
Guess,
talking
guess
with
who our
them.
favorite? Guess who one of our friends of the program was trained by? The Reverend Ron Hunt,
Hood.
Alpha Junior in Alpha
Mm.
Junior School, WXWC4. So they still
Okay.
do the same thing. It's not like
We
they
get
just
Oh,
teaching
it.
the
We
it's
get
same.
it. But
all
I'm
No,
trying
yeah.
it's
to
like you
explain
said.
to you who was doing it first.
That
Like
yeah.
when you look at the Arnold family, they were keeping it in the family. The Harts were not keeping it in the family. They were
Mm,
training their family, and then they were training whoever was in around their town who wanted to step into the dungeon and teach. It's just now, fine, they're starting to branch out because everybody is starting to learn from somebody. That's the trick of the
mhm,
trade. Like, the Brian Kendrick ain't giving out his talents for the free. He's teaching everybody. But that's just the trend that the Hart family started. When I think of schools and dungeons and training and getting technique from someone who knows what they're doing, I'm sorry, I think of the Hart family. I don't think of the Allen family. Just
I'm
like you would
thinking
think of
Knox
them as main
Pro.
eventers. As you would think of them as main eventers, that's fine. But when I think
Mhm.
about what the wrestling business, how a wrestling business was meant to operate, with somebody teaching, somebody leaning, and somebody learning how to set the business up for the next, it's the Hart
mhm.
family. I'm sorry. In my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah,
We see your
that
point, Brian, but at
all.
the same time, we also know you ain't trying to get jumped by the 17,000 members of that Samoan
Hello.
family.
I'll do it for you, baby. Don't worry. I got your back, brother.
They
Look, they
got
always
they
treat
got
me
your
good.
back.
They treat my little bro good,
And
so
we
we
love
good.
we love them, but I'm just saying, I gotta give
Yeah,
flowers, the right
don't mess
amount
with
of
a
right
Samoan.
bouquet to the right fam, you know?
Don't mess with a Samoan.
We love Samoans.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the Rhodes family because with Cody and Dustin Goldust, you had like kind of two different, paths, two different generations almost to a certain extent, and they had big shoes to fill with Dusty Rhodes. I don't think you can talk about the territories, the history of the business without talking about Dusty. And now you got Cody, one of the biggest stars in WWE.
No, that's true. And I
Pause.
did not see it when he first came. I was
Yeah.
like, this dude is bland. They kept saying they were trying to sell me that he was the next big thing. I just didn't see it. But when I look at him now and I look at everything he's doing, you can clearly see the influence of his dad. I think for me personally, when I look back at old stuff, I know a lot of people, it's like torn, right? Some people say nobody cared about Dustin Rhodes, the natural Dustin Rhodes. Some people said they did. To me, it was like, even growing up as a child, like he was another wrestler, but I never saw him as world champion. But I will say, like, for him to do what he did with the Gold Dust character was phenomenal. And granted, it went against like everything his dad stood for. But like that moment in the top right corner when we got to see them all team up to go against the Shield, I thought, like, you don't, that's like, talk about goosebumps, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, one of my favorite moments was in going back a few was when Dustin and Dusty, when he asked them to be his partner and he said to seal his answer with a kiss, and then Cody did the same thing after this match. He said, I got issues and I need my brother. Like the storytelling that the Rose family do is phenomenal, and I think that's the part. And you talk about influence, you see now you start to see Cody spread his influence with the Nightmare Factory School.
Yeah. And a lot of people talk about how helpful Goldust, or Dustin, I should say, it was backstage spreading that knowledge once he got his life together, and how much he is a mentor to a lot of people now in AEW. And
Mhm.
that match, I look at that bloody ass match in that top left corner. I could say people are probably going to say that's one of the top five AEW matches, I think, just because of the emotion and everything that both of them have been through. Like, those are the moments wrestling is built for. And to get to wrestle with Dusty Rhodes, like, what a moment for all of
Mm-hmm.
them.
I literally look, and then also, but cheap plug, shout out to my ex slash one, a good friend of mine, Corey Dillinger, aka the Diligent One. He's a wrestler. He spent some time down at the Nightmare Factory. He's enrolled. He did a showcase and everything, and he will tell you it's one of the most inspirational. Like, he was actually going to give up on wrestling for a while, And then he got invited and he started practicing and doing his runs and had a full match. And he said all his inspiration kind of came sparing back to him because like the message is not lost. What Dusty Rhodes used to do for the whole crop of who our favorites are down at NXT, like the message is not lost. You have a bunch of, if it's not, you know, Dusty being involved, if it's not Cody flying down there to be involved in Atlanta, it's literally other wrestlers in the business. Like he's met QT Marshall, like he's met a whole bunch of wrestlers who just get Dusty's message and they're like, listen, if we gotta grow the business, let's grow the business somewhere else. Let's do it in this school. And like I said, it's just one of those things that like people don't understand the point of why wrestling's around, but if there's wrestling schools popping up left and right, like it's an inspiration somewhere. We're still looking at the influence of the old school, like Dustin, the chokehold that man had on the NXT roster, enough for people to cry when he passed away. You're not just influencing people who were fans of you, Legendary, who remember your promos, you know, hard times. You're inspiring a whole crop of fresh talent that literally learned. People couldn't speak on the mic. People didn't have personality. People struggled to cut promos. But until he got there and he sat you in a chair and he told you, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. No, give me more of this, give me more of that. Pop, pop, pop. Like watching that FCW documentary, I'm like, now I get why people were so obsessed with Dusty, because watching him teach Bailey how to open her mouth is one of the most hilarious things. And Bailey goes on record to go, it was so uncomfortable, but then when you start to see how involved he wants you to be, like you start to get it. Like even Roman, for Roman to not, Roman was just like, I'm just here to wrestle. But Dustin told him he had to be more than that. That's inspiration to me. Like that's what the business should be about.
Right.
About 50% of the business should be that. Having somebody that's going to pass torch. He didn't get to that top pinnacle, and that's fine. But he was like, you know what? Let me make it happen for other people.
I also
so
like how he and I also like how he championed the people that were told that they would never be a star.
Exactly.
Those were the people that he targeted and was like, no, I'm gonna make you a star, which kind of makes sense that like in hindsight, Goldust happened because I feel like Dusty would be the one to like say no, this can work kind of vibe, even though he probably didn't like it at the time. But it just shows you that talent that runs in the family, and we're gonna make that character work. There's people that don't watch wrestling that like my boss would say lines from the infamous Dusty promo that doesn't even like watch wrestling regularly, and they remember that and how he was a character and everything that he's passed on. Like, yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, hard times, baby.
He saw something in people, man. Like to add to Siendo's point, like another person, case in point, is Sasha Banks, because Dusty was the only person that got the boss gimmick, where everyone else did not understand it. He's the one that's like encouraged it and told her, "Yo, you got it. Develop it. It's there."
And even Seth Rollins will go, when he got there, he was still in the Tyler Black like mindset until he started working with Dusty. Then it got him out of that mindset, and it turned him into cutting promos and having more charisma. And I like, listen, that man could do no wrong. He taught a whole fleet of people what to do and how to be better.
Right.
And then the
So
switch to
just
Cody,
to
I was gonna say the
go
switch to
ahead.
Cody real quick. Like Cody, if I know everyone, Cody's divisive. People, we love getting our jokes off on Cody right now, especially at the expense of Roman Reigns, our tribal chief and whatnot. But look at what Cody did. Cody is one of those few guys that actually bet on himself, left WWE, left a lucrative deal to be like, you know what, I deserve more. I see myself as a main eventer. Let me go prove it. Let me go work the indies. Let me go learn New Japan. Let me go learn ROH. Let me go form AEW and learn. And he came back even better to where he just main evented WrestleMania. That's very few
I
examples
don't
of
think
like
anyone
someone
has ever
even.
done it like that either. Like I
No.
was so impressed because I thought I couldn't give like I didn't pay Cody Rhodes literally any mind, and the way that he was able to do that and his return, and for it to be expected but still hit the way that his debut did in Dallas, like I will always be a Cody Rhodes fan. Like he's done that.
And you can count on one hand how many times that's really happened where someone's
Right.
left a company, a big company, to go make themselves a bigger name, came back, and then became a main eventer.
But
Oh
also,
yeah.
found a company that legit became WWE's competition. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's the key part that not a lot of other people can do. And speaking of AEW, I guess is Phil on TV right now?
I'm
He
about to
just
check.
finished.
Oh damn it!
Taker
Why you
Mike,
didn't
he
say
got the
nothing?
Janet Jackson mic. He think we want to hear him talk that bad.
You listen. I refuse.
Okay,
Y'all, okay? I'm done.
okay.
Stop. Enough with the slander. The man
I,
came
I
back. We talk about people
I did
coming
not
He
back.
was gone
They're
for
slander.
doing what they
months. He
gotta
I
got a lot
just
on
do.
his
asked the
This,
mind.
question. I just asked the question. That's
y'all know how he get. You give him a mic and a couple of months off, and he gonna run his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I already
that is
know.
true. That is true. So I want
He
to,
agrees.
before we go into spotlighting kind of another family, I couldn't help but think as we talk about like Gold Dust and watching Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if you guys saw the Doink the Clown episode, but he was a second generation wrestler, and it's really hard for wrestlers' kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
they grow up having to, especially back then, because you have to protect the business, right? So you have to go to school and you have to like hear people call wrestling's fake. You got to prove that you're tough. If if your dad's on TV all the time, you literally have to defend yourself. Wrestling business is not lucrative all the time. So then, The Rock talked about it, the Harts talk about it, about how when business was bad, they would go to school in hand-me-downs and they were poor a lot of the times, and just like how that whole life does like this, or not seeing your parents all the time, which was, talking about Dustin and Cody's different paths. Dustin talks about how Cody got a very different dad than Dustin did, because when Dustin was a kid, Dusty was still in the territories and he was the biggest star in the universe. But then when Cody was born a few years later in a different situation, Dusty had time to be more present in his life. And it's hard. I don't remember what episode Krista B and I did, but we were just saying basically how, you know, you're least likely to make it as a third generation wrestler than you are, because a Charlotte Flair is an anomaly.
Ric Flair.
The
Randy
Rock
Oh,
Orton.
an anomaly.
Randy Orton was definitely an anomaly
Right,
because
right. But for every Randy Orton, there's 10 others
There's
that
Ted
just
DiBiase
never hit.
Jr.
Right. Oof.
poor kid,
Wasn't
poor
there a
guy.
rumor that he was gonna get signed? I remember that he was gonna get signed to WWE at one point.
Who was that?
Ted DiBiase Jr., the one that
Well, so
there was a
DBS
rumor that he was gonna resign. I thought.
No, that they're
resigned,
gonna let him resign.
Yeah.
and see, I thought he was it.
Me
When I saw his look,
too.
like, all right, so think about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that time, you put Cody, Ted DiBiase Jr., and Randy Orton. You had Legacy and Manu, who's Alpha Jr.
Mhm.
And I said, all right, cool. They this third generation, second generation, whatever, third generation. Well, except Cody. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be it. But I see something in Ted DiBiase Jr.
A lot more
They
people
put
saw
him
it in
with
Ted.
Virgil.
Yeah, they saw a lot more in
Oh,
Ted
that
at the
was so
time.
corny. Wait, so they put Ted DiBiase Jr. Oh, that's so corny.
Mhm.
The Virgil gave him the $1 million belt, which you remember.
Yeah,
Virgil beat DiBiase for it.
that's
He
like
I
gave
was there.
Yep,
that
I
was
was
the
like,
height of the PG era. That was like when we were slowly leaving ruthless aggression.
yeah. And I was just like, man. And I just felt like I didn't like Cody's look because he didn't wear knee pads. And he was
Mhm.
skinny. Like, if y'all look at old Cody versus Cody now,
Yeah.
like he's
He
jacked.
was like a fresh
He
baby
was like,
deer. I
like
swear. They were all like
thin,
really, and
he
I
was
remember them
so
all being
young.
like, they were all greased up and tan too. On top of that, that was an
Yo.
interesting time. They were very
and you
greased up and
thinking,
tan.
and they with Randy Orton, which if they was with this Randy Orton versus that one, it probably would have been a different story. Like that Randy Orton was probably just maturing, maybe, but it's just like it wasn't it. And and like I went back and looked at some old like Midwest stuff. Ted DiBiase Sr. was good. Like we see him as the $1 million man. Obviously, like that's the character Vince McMahon wanted to be himself, so he gave it to Ted DiBiase. But like as a wrestler, that dude could work.
That now makes
Mhm.
sense.
It makes
Everybody's
sense.
got a price.
Now
You
that I
never
think
heard that?
about it.
You never heard that story?
No, I haven't heard the story.
Yo,
But now
I'm
that you
telling
say
you,
it,
that makes sense.
it
Yeah,
puts
like
the-
Bruce Pritchard was like when one time Vince McMahon was like on a plane and somebody was smoking. He said, "Hey man, can you put the cigarette out?" No, I'll give you $100. I'll give you $200. I give you $300. Can you just put the cigarette out? And it's like finally the guy put the cigarette out, but he ain't take the money. And he said he just looked at us like, wait, you're the $1 million man. That's really you.
But that does make
So
sense.
And you know, he used to
secondhand
give him real money.
So
to
secondhand
keep up the
smoke
gimmick.
led to one of his greatest creations.
Everybody's
No,
got a price.
it was already after the creation was done. But yeah, and he said like, and DiBiase Senior said like Vince would give him real money because he had to live the gimmick. You know, you got to live the gimmick, baby.
That's a
Wow.
good piece of trivia right
I
Makes a
there.
lot of sense.
The more you learn on the fan club,
Mhm. So let's Dre brought up the Guerreros.
They're a little hot water right now, ain't they?
just a little.
I mean, they're
And
good
it's
son
a
Dominic.
hot topic, but
You know, Dominic did some
You
hard
put it
times.
nicely.
Dominic, I'm done with y'all. Dominic is not. That's not his pappy. Y'all
He
need
the
to
pappy.
stop.
He the pappy.
No.
Look at that mullet. That ain't Ray's mullet.
Shout out to Shayla Guerrero who still
No,
follows me on
add
Instagram.
Dominic in
If
that
you're watching
comment.
this, we
Recopy
apologize.
paste that and add Dominic, Wealth Warrior. You gotta put Dominic in
You
there.
got to. I'm sorry. Ray is this. Dominic's this. Make that make sense.
oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Make that make sense. Is that your grandfather's height?
no. Oh my god.
Because we see Mamita too. Mamita ain't that much taller. Like, yo,
Mamita.
where
Why do
we
we
getting
get
his
you
height
started?
from?
Why do we get you started? It's this fan club. I should
Because
have
these are
known.
things that we got to ask the club because we're not the only ones thinking it.
But see, we be trending, Justin, because you know he be ready with the button.
I
So we
just
gotta be
told
careful.
you.
I haven't had to use
Don't
it in a
get me
while.
in trouble.
Yeah, but you know
Shout out
when
to
we was looking at
Shayla
the best
Guerrero who
of,
still follows me on Instagram. Baby, if you're watching this, I am so sorry. I
No, we
apologize.
no slander. They're just hot
all
right now.
respect,
But
all respect.
they have been an influential family in wrestling.
Mhm.
So we will give them their props for that. Another family I want to bring up that I forgot about is the Knights from London, Soraya's family.
Oh,
Never seen
Oh.
yes. I got to talk about it because let me tell you something. In the height of me not caring about like WWE women's wrestling and me discovering Shimmer, when I tell you there was nothing like watching this woman whoop young ass, and to the point of like she gave me the energy the way that Trish gives me energy now. Let me tell you why. Cause she literally like, and Jessica McKay will tell you, Pantera Royce will tell you, um, Melissa Martinez would tell you, her own daughter would tell you, there was nobody like Mama Knight. Nobody. Me and tell me your husband taught you how to take bumps, and you automatically went into the point where you were like, all right, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna fight my own daughter because my daughter needs to learn how tough this business really is. Like their match, they had a 60-minute like match against each other.
Oh wow.
I fight my mother my ass to staying on the ground. I ain't getting up. Like that's just gonna be that's gonna be the quickest loss since Bianca Belair at SummerSlam. I'm telling you, I'm gonna lose.
Wow,
But for
the
I'm
jab of
saying
all
that's how
matches.
quick it's gonna be. It's a
Golly.
jab, but that's how quick it's gonna be. But now let me
Mhm.
tell you, the way that this family, like the brother was gonna wrestle, then you had Paige, then you had the dad. The dad was like also like the booker, pretty much, and then the mom was mostly the advocate for the entire thing. Like there's a point that they didn't even want Paige to really wrestle. Like I didn't even really know that. They didn't want her to wrestle, but when they went to the tryout, they were like, all right, you two are both going for the tryout. So then for Paige to get picked over the brother was something that was shocking, but the mom was just like uber supportive.
Was it because she was a woman, or was it because she had that back issue that Paige has talked about?
They had psyched the brother up more than they did Paige at the
Right.
time.
It was her brother's dream to be in the
Right.
WWE, and she went with him to the tryouts, and they ended up picking Saraya over her brother, and that was a whole thing. And she ended up having to like move to America basically like alone at such a young age, and The Rock was so inspired by a mini doc on their family that they made a movie about her family called Fighting with My Family. So we have to give it up to them. Again, the women, they make the joke all the time. Her mother, that Paige's first match was in her womb because she was wrestling months pregnant, didn't even realize it. That's how ingrained. And they talk about how wrestling saved her mother's life, saved her father's
Mhm.
life, and it's been ingrained in their family now for years. And thank God Saray has been able to come back. She's thriving in AEW, so she can continue on the
Like
legacy.
fighting for my family is really like a spot on, like, full depiction of what went on with that
Mhm.
family, because it's a lot. Like,
It's a
I can't
very
imagine
solid
being a
movie.
female legacy. It's something different than being a male
Mhm.
legacy, in my opinion. It's always going to hit something different. Because
Yeah.
almost like they wait for you to fail. Like, okay, it's the
Mhm.
daughter's wrestling. Like, with Lacey Von Erich, I didn't think Lacey Von Erich was so bad. I didn't realize how many people didn't like her until you get into like the
Mhm.
Reddit era of her TNA run. And I'm like, yo, people really didn't like her, but she wasn't the worst.
Mhm. Can we talk about women in wrestling families, and just like to your point, Sando, about how they have it harder? Because I can't help but think of Luna Vachon, who
Oh,
was a
yeah.
second generation wrestler whose life was dedicated to winning a women's championship. She wanted to be the
Yeah.
world champion, and she never was able to achieve that, and it like tortured her to a certain extent, and it affected her mental health, because it's a part of wrestling kids' identity
Yeah.
to follow in their footsteps, and it doesn't always work out that way.
And it's hard too. I always like me studying mental health and realizing that there's kind of like a gift and a curse when a girl is raised by an all male, like in an all male dominated space. Let me explain this. The treatment that a father would give a girl when she's the only girl is far different than it would if she would have like a match
Mhm.
counterpart. Meaning, if she had like, if it was like two guys, if it's like two brothers and two sisters, the dynamic's different. If it's like three brothers and one girl, it's a completely different dynamic. Because I understood that because I grew up that way. And she was
Mhm.
basically like trained by her father to not only think in society like a man, but also like just treat the business the same way. And all she wanted was to be a women's champion. And I think she went into the mindset of, if the guys can do it, so can I. And when she got to WWE, it was a complete 180. And it's unfortunate because that does take a toll on your mental health. Imagine somebody telling you like, hey, because I raised you this way, you're going to be treated this way. And then you get out to the world and you realize like, wait, that's not the case at all, based on what
Mhm.
I have that I can't change about myself. Well, now you can surgically, but I can't change that about myself. So I'm stuck with either accepting downfalls of this, or I can
Mhm.
push against the grain to make it right. And unfortunately, she lost that battle with trying to make it right.
Mm.
She did. It was hard. It is. It's not easy, and that's why I feel like people like Bret Hart, even to this day, takes wrestling so seriously. Because when it's your
Mhm.
family's like your identity,
It's
you
different.
don't go to Calgary and you don't hear about the Hart family and the dungeon and like all that stuff and everything. Even The Rock, he always talks about like even in movies, nothing will compare to when he's in front of the WWE universe. Like there's something about that will kind of just like always be a part of you. And his daughter, I think, did the right thing, and
Mhm.
it was a slow burn. Like she got signed and they didn't make it a big hoopla. She didn't appear on TV the next day or try to do an epic promo. It was a slow burn. She took her time in the performance center and she trained, and she's working. She's working on her character work now, which I
Mhm.
think is good. And I think she's finding her lane. No one really is like the Rock's daughter. The Rock's daughter. It's like no, Ava Rain. Like she's
Yeah.
making a name for herself, which I appreciate. And also, Brian and I got to hang out with her a little bit at Wale Mania, and she's so nice. She's so approachable, and I also like how she hangs out with all the other wrestlers. Like she was there, and she was part of the group, and she was nice. I think she's
No
gonna go far
facts. Yeah, definitely.
for sure. Is Charlotte Flair the greatest family legacy wrestler of all time?
She's
That
a carbon
surpassed,
copy of her dad.
like, did she
What?
surpass the best
She's
one
a
to surpass the best?
Here's what
out of
I've been saying for the longest time when it comes to sports, when it comes to entertainment. Charlotte Flair is the best. Charlotte and Ric Flair are the best parent-child duo ever in wrestling, ever in sports. And I'm putting them up against the Bonds in baseball, the Griffeys in
mm,
baseball.
mm.
I'm putting them up against, Grant Hill, who played football. I mean, Grant Calvin Hill, who played football, and Grant Hill, who played basketball. I'm
Talk
putting them
that
up against
talk.
all of them,
Talk that talk.
Charlotte and Rick, because when it's all said and done, they're the only two where you can make an argument for both of them. Like you can
Yep.
make an argument for Ric Flair being the greatest wrestler of all time in the men's side, and Charlotte Flair being the greatest in the women's side. You could even make an argument of Charlotte Flair being the greatest wrestler of all time because she can go.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, she's gonna retire the most decorated women's champion of all time.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And it's like you really, and then again, you think about the fact that her motivation lies within the family. Like she's doing this, she started out doing this for her brother. And
Mhm.
look at where her career is folded in now, to the point where she thought she didn't have a relationship with her father. And made her relationship with her father better. So
Mhm.
when you think about legacies, it's a lot of people I think have a love-hate relationship with legacies because the first thought is I'm getting everything handed to me. Like what Patricia said with The Rock's daughter. We thought her getting signed, you're gonna see her on NXT the next day. Talent, no talent to get in there. But that's not the case. Like you gotta take coal and dig it out and see if you find diamonds first. Like think about same thing with Randy Orton. People thought Randy Orton went in there thinking, listen, this is the only thing that's going to keep me out of jail, and it's the only thing that's going like give me a job or give me a steady career. And he went and they thought we can't prime this boy into anything. And he went to OVW and started showing the off to being
Mhm.
like, no, this is in my blood. And Charlotte Flair, same thing. Didn't know if she had it all. Didn't know if she really wanted to do it. Went down to FCW and showed her fucking ass off.
Mm-hmm.
Took that
Yep,
gymnastic background and made it her own.
Mhm.
she
Put
did,
some
and it's
flair on
so
it
much
for real.
for real, and it's so much harder
It's harder as a
for
woman
them.
because imagine how many
It's
people
harder
didn't
as a
take her
woman,
seriously when she
and
walked
then
down there.
right, exactly. To the point where you have to struggle with, okay, do I make it known that the greatest wrestler of all time is my father? Do I lean into that for my character? She talked about the identity crisis that she went through when she was debuting because she was like, okay, we were talking about it in our Raw episode, I believe, Brian, where it was like, remember when she was on the main roster, sometimes she was Charlotte Flair, sometimes she was just Charlotte, then she was Charlotte Flair, then
Mhm.
she was just Charlotte, because it was just like, do I woo, do I not woo? But
Mm-hmm.
she's gotten so good that they both
It
lend themselves to each other.
right.
Like, which I love.
And then you look at the generations that she's inspired of, like women who come into wrestling without going through the indies, without really like having that. Like she comes with a background, but like not like that indie background of like I gotta learn this from the ground up. But I come from athletics, and if she's the
Mhm.
prototype, Bianca Belair is basically the T1000 to her Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
And those
Right.
generations and these NIL kids that are like, we come from
Yeah.
athletic backgrounds. We played Division One. We did this and that, but you know what we didn't do? Wrestle.
Look at Tiffany
And
Stratton. Tiffany Stratton was D1 gymnastics, and look at where Tiffany Stratton's now. She's an
Right.
NXT Women's Champion. There's definitely a prototype there.
Can we talk about that? I don't know why I found this funny because I was thinking about Carmella, but the second and third generation wrestlers of like ones that didn't like make it and then their children do, like
You know,
Carmella.
I feel
And
bad.
she'll say, she was like, my dad's a jobber, but she is a
You,
second generation wrestler.
you know, I didn't
Mhm.
know that until the episode of Total Divas where you like her dad. I was like, wait, she's a legacy kid, and I was like, oh god, like don't tell me he's one of those ones that was like there, that was like on some like super cult cabana type shit and was only there for like gimmick. I will feel bad, but
Fun,
it
Damn.
turns out I will
fun
feel
Now,
bad.
fact: he gave Razor Ramon his first match in his debut in WWE.
Get
Oh
out.
really?
Yeah,
wow.
when
That's some
yeah,
good ass trivia.
yeah, Corey Graves talked about it when they did like after Scott Hall passed and they did the dedication. He talked about that. He said, Carmella's dad was his first match. And I was like, man, it's just so many. That's the thing about wrestling. It's so many like
Yep.
So many
hidden gems.
interesting gems.
It's
Yeah.
Mhm.
so fascinating. But you wouldn't guess that about a lot of
Nope.
people.
Because didn't Vader's son at one point wrestle and he was there for a short while and then he
Yeah,
okay. I
Hmm.
wasn't
mhm.
crazy. It was Vader. It was
Yeah.
his son. Yeah.
Big John Stud's son wrestles locally. Scott Hall's son, Cody Hall,
Cody Hall,
wrestles
yeah.
locally. Both of them,
I didn't know
and
Devon
actually both of
Eric's
them are
sons are
Maryland
still
kids.
wrestling too. The one that's still I keep Kevin's sons are wrestling now too, aren't
Yeah,
they?
I think
They're
so.
in the indie circuit.
Brian Pillman Jr.
Oh, we love us some
Mhm.
Brian Pillman. I love Brian
Isn't
Pillman
Devon's
Jr.
sons wrestling?
Yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah,
be
they are.
surprised. I
Because he
wouldn't be
said The
surprised.
Rock convinced him to let him wrestle. He
Yeah.
didn't want them to, but The Rock was like, "Man, just let them go for it. If they fail, they fail. Let them go for it."
Yeah. That's the only way to get it out of their system too, because they're gonna. I want to wrestle. So it's like, you know what? And it's the business is much safer now
And you know who
than
my
it was back
favorite
then.
you know my favorite legacy person is right now? I don't care what anybody says. I may crack on his
Are
choice
you
of
gonna
tanning temperature,
say
but
Brown
Big
Brown Baker?
Brownie from Florida Breaker. I like
I knew
him.
you were gonna say
I
that.
need listen, Big Brownie Tan Brown Breaker. Listen to me. You're
Oh,
doing
you
a
mean
fantastic
Dominican
job.
Braun?
Yes, Don Toretto Brown, Barn Breaker. I love you.
I know tan. I Dominican.
I like it. I told me it was vanilla a
but
couple of episodes ago, but I liked him as champion. I liked him vanilla champion, but then he became a heel, and then he got a little bit. He turned the color of cocoa, and then he got real good.
He got the
So
right
now
shape
he's winning
up.
for
He got
me.
the
Color of
right facial. The
cocoa.
facial is right. Like
He don't even got the tan lines, the little things we giving you. He be taking straight sun to the face,
he got
but
the
I like it
he got the Vin Diesel shirt with the Vin Diesel
with the
chain.
cross,
Family.
and it's
y'all,
Family.
black.
y'all funny.
If I'm telling you right now, if he pull up in a 1997 Dodge Challenger, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. You
Yo,
know his new persona. He's
But
just gonna have family. He might
family.
listen. You might have somebody pretend to be like his girlfriend or his wife. I'm telling you, it's
but
going their way. But I like it
but
either way. He's doing a
but
good job.
He gonna come
He's
out
doing a
you
with
good
a. He
job.
gonna come out with a Corona and everything.
Yeah.
the thing about Braun and as far as being like next generation, right? I had a conversation with Lance on Hawaii years ago, and he said the thing that his family taught him was, he went to college, I believe, on a baseball scholarship, but he was pursuing a baseball career, and his dad told him, "Go for it. Wrestling's
Yeah.
always going to be here." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You look at like Braun, you look at Roman Reigns. Both of them were on NFL practice
Yeah,
squads,
because
if not roster.
what team was Braun Breaker on? Oh
The
yeah, the Baltimore
Ravens.
Ravens.
He was on the
He was
Ravens.
on
No, he
Ravens.
was on the Ravens at the beginning of 2021, and at the end of
Yeah.
2021, he was NXT champion.
I'm
That's
telling you.
crazy. Roman Reigns was on the Minnesota Vikings.
So was
So it's
Brock
like,
Lesnar.
ironically, right?
Ironic.
Brock was last cut. Otherwise, he would be a Minnesota Viking.
Facts. Facts. Are there any other families that
But now we got the
don't get
Mysterios.
mentioned enough?
The
The
Mysterios.
Mysterios.
I mean,
They're killing it.
We need Mari up on that one, but I think what they did was so important for the business because it's something that like your daddy was fantasizing about this wrestler wrestling their son and they got to do it this year. That's gonna in my mind, that's never gonna leave my brain, as not only is it like a worthy Hall of Fame deserving for Ray, but it's also the biggest catapult that Dominic could ever have as being Rey
Mhm.
Mysterio's son. Like he's not Rey Mysterio's son no more. He's straight up Dominic.
Mhm.
And that if that wasn't going to help his career, I feel like nothing, even the Judgment Day, nothing else he would have done. He could get in the ring with Bad Bunny this SummerSlam. Nothing else would have done that for him the way that his father literally even have a full storyline with him to involve the whole family, to even sell the art of you're my dad, but I don't fuck with you, so I'm gonna walk out on your Hall of Fame speech. Like everything in it is art, and that's the way that everything you could be taught in the business. Dominic has learned. They can get on him, but ever since since he's been with the Judgment Day, he's gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I agree.
if he ever wanted to turn face, I don't think it would be a problem. I think he's a much better heel.
Oh, definitely.
But I'm never going to leave my brain. That's like the biggest, that's the biggest wish any wrestler who has a family member who's in the business with. I think that's their dream, and they were able to do it in like 2 years. They were tag team champions together, and they fought each other.
You know what's so funny? We talk about how WWE always like gets the stuff first. As you was bringing that up, Seindole, and you said that it's like it goes to show that you can basically play with your dad. Who wants to play with their son? LeBron James. That's all you've been hearing about for the past 3 years. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for
He
Bronny Jr.
literally
to
said
come
that
up.
when he was a freshman in high school.
Yep. WWE said, nope. How about we do this? We're gonna give you Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. We're gonna do it first. At
I'm trying to tell
WrestleMania.
you, at WrestleMania, and we gonna have Snoop Dogg on the coast-high around the low ride because it's California. It's California, hey. You thought we forgot we was right up the coast from the 619?
Don't
Nope.
be surprised if they run it back next year.
Listen,
And Dom get his
I'm
lick
all
back.
for it. Listen, Dom
I mean,
gonna be listen.
At least they'll be
Dominic gonna probably.
consistent. Because 38 they wrestled together. This year they wrestled against each other. That could be a trilogy match.
I'm telling you,
Big one.
big one.
Can we change gears and talk about influential wrestling families that only exist in kayfabe? Because I'm embarrassed to say like how old I was.
Me and Justin both confused. What are y'all talking?
No, Edge and Christian. I thought they were brothers. I thought the Kane
how we played the Hardy Boys like that. Wait, we played the Hardy Boys so bad.
Wait, why you say that?
Matt Hardy literally got 4 goddamn kids. You act like he ain't setting one of them up for wrestling.
One of them did wrestle.
Maxwell's gonna wrestle.
He got 4 kids.
Max is the one that's been getting active.
Remember?
In like Maxwell's the one that's active, so Maxwell will be the one that gets in the
Remember
ring.
the Tyler Perry movie when he was like, "Don't do it." She got kids. I mean, I'm gonna be in the stands like wrestle. They got 4 kids. Just like this with a sign. He got 4 kids. Sign them.
No,
and you Slater.
When you put that sign up, you got to put in parentheses for now. 4 kids for now, because anytime Matt and Rebby get a little slizzer, all of a sudden here come another kid.
Don't I'm trying to tell you, like Matt Hardy. I swear to God, I think he got that big mansion. He let his wife decor with all that golf stuff, and then there's a wrestling ring out in the shed. He send them kids up.
Telling you, Maxwell's gonna be the one.
I can see them all. I can see all the boys end up getting into wrestling. Like I could totally see that. And also all the wrestlers that are the baby boom right now in wrestling, like in 15, 18 years, like what if all of them get in the game? Then it just grows and grows and grows.
That's true. The Miz and Maurice got two girls. Stephanie and Triple H got 3 girls. Becky just gave birth to a girl. Like the women's wrestling alone.
Yeah.
It's like, in like 14 years.
I think about Daniel Bryan, the greatest wrestler, probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
You said it right.
Imagine when he trains his kids how to wrestle. Like they're gonna be unstoppable.
They're gonna train them in the dirt and grass.
Listen,
they're gonna be so natural.
Listen, they're gonna learn how to think on their toes.
Yep.
That's how you do it. What do we think of the Gun Club?
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. They all look like they all look like Ken dolls. I saw them at I want to say Starcast in Nashville, and they just the 3 of them together. They're just like, oh,
I'm laughing
like
at you
because buff and tan and shit.
Wait, they're like what? Do that again?
I don't know what I did.
you did the shining sunlight, like
you know when you like, but they were like,
no.
Really nice too.
I'm laughing because we're gonna call him the Dom. So I'm watching AEW. I'm watching Dynamite, and he sees them coming out, and he's like, "Why do they all look like 2 different prototypes for new Ken dolls?" So when you said they look like Ken dolls,
oh yeah. It was like spot on.
He was like, that looks like the Ken doll that they don't know if they're gonna put that on the shelf, and then that looks like the Ken doll that's about to get on a motorcycle with a leather jacket and come with like Stacy to the beach. I said, you know what? I'm done. I can't watch this in front of you, but yeah, me and you are thinking the same thing, Pete, because that's exactly what they all look like.
I think it's to be able to work with your father. Like, I think that's just it has to be so fun for them.
Man, Billy should still be at WWE, man. Like,
no, but look at the opportunity it gave for him to go to AEW and be like, you know what, my son's in the business.
Purpose? He was
Yeah,
there
but
because he
it's
got
still a
popped
great
with
thing.
a weightlifter substance or something. We needed him.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know
he
that.
got fired.
Well, that's on him. But I'm saying it's great for his
Did he get
sons
fired on
because I
his
don't
day
think his
It
off?
would
sons would
be
have been
They would be in a
WWE.
performance center. Come on now, you already know where they would be. With
There's no reason
getting
why they
trained
can't
by
go
Uncle
back.
Sean.
I'm sorry, Vince McMahon has been giving people for so much worse than freaking substance abuse. I doubt that this is their last chance to go back there. Let's be real honest about that for a
I'm just
second.
mad because he wasn't in the Raw in Brooklyn. Like he was supposed to be there doing the
That would have
80
been
millionth DX celebration.
It
Like
will
he was supposed to be
happen
there.
someday.
You'll
His
see
best
in the
friend's Triple
90th DX
H.
reunion when they wheelchair everyone out there. He's gonna be out there with them.
It will happen someday. Maybe he'll get on a roller stretch and walk down with the rest of them when Triple
Nah,
H feels
Billy
like
gonna
he's
be in
gonna
the
do it.
best shape. He's still in the best shape out of
Yeah,
all of
He
them.
really
looks
is.
great. He looks so good.
He looked at his
Yeah.
sons and he was like, "Hell no, y'all ain't catching up to me."
Nah,
That's
you
what
talking
you're
about
not gonna
somebody
do.
who have to live up to a legacy. And it's not like Billy was ever like a main eventer as a singles person. Like he is like the epitome of tag team wrestling. I think he had 4 or 5 different tag team champion partners in WWE.
That's
But
true.
like, yeah, he would be solid. This kid's gonna have
Yeah.
to live up to it.
Can we get a little controversial and
Of
to
course we
think of
can.
who is a wrestling legacy that had all the takes of being a legacy and has messed that up tremendously?
Ooh.
There's a lot of them, I feel like, but
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on him. But we got some heat talking about like the Teddy Harts of the world, who and when you talk about influential wrestling families, like somebody like him can be a dirtbag, but you go somewhere, you're gonna get hired because you're a Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it's like, okay, that's an influential wrestling family. Because a lot of people, DiBiase, like a lot of people can literally just survive on the indies and not really make a splash, but because of that last name, they're gonna get booked.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but he's the first one that comes to my mind as far as like flops.
That's because that's exactly the best word to
Damn.
use. Because this is a club exclusive. I remember Ruckus, who was and if anybody who knows, Ruckus is a CZW legend. He's black, one of like first like not first, but one of the top black indie stars during the mid 2000s. And I got word that he was going to get signed by WWE, and I'm like, yeah, they was like he was going to be signed with Teddy Hart, Natalia, and Harry Smith, but Teddy Hart told Stephanie McMahon kiss his ass. So all of them got fired. And I'm sitting there thinking, shout out to brother Brandon. He told me the story. And I was like, so how was they going to make that work? Because Ruckus is black. And then I figured, I was like, oh, they probably would have, later on I realized they probably would have booked him as the last dungeon, trainee or something. But yeah, Teddy Hart, and that's what they said, the youngest hired, the youngest fired in WWE history when they did that documentary on him on Peacock.
That is very
What a
interesting.
mess.
Yeah.
You can't say that to Steph. Come on.
Like, bruh,
What a
really?
mess.
She fired her godfather.
I'm about to say, yeah,
She'll
that woman lives to
fire
fire
anyone.
people. Come
She's
on.
a
now.
McMahon. They'll fire anyone.
She should have left him fired.
It's literally their catchphrase. Like I don't.
I have a question for y'all. Do
Not
you guys
Shane.
think that either Shane's sons or one of Triple H and Stephanie's daughters, or do you think they're gonna end up getting in the business? For some reason, I can see Triple H and Stephanie not wanting them to be in the business. I don't know why.
The daughters know. The son,
Okay.
one of Shane's sons, definitely.
I think the opposite. I think Shane's sons are gonna look at the tapes of dad falling off of fucking Hell in the Cells and fucking skyscrapers and shit and be like, I want no parts of this. Whereas you see where the women's wrestling has grown and evolved, and Triple H is very integral of that. Stephanie champions that. I could easily see one of the daughters becoming a wrestler versus Shane's sons being like, I'm not jumping off of 30 feet shit like you were doing. No.
Right.
You made me think of that. You made me think of how like Noelle Foley talked about like watching her dad take that fall from Hell in a Cell, and I'm thinking the exact same thing now.
Yeah,
I'm
like think of
no.
WrestleMania 32, for example, right? Shane's kids are all ringside when he falls off the fucking Hell in a Cell in that match against Taker. Like, if you're a kid watching your father fall off of that shit, that's gonna be like a visual memory. It was like,
But
I
No,
don't want to ever wrestle because I just watched my father fall 30 feet and I
No,
didn't know
but
if he
I'm
was
going
okay or not.
opposite though. I'm gonna go
I'm gonna have
opposite.
to go the opposite of that. Like I mean, go ahead, Brian, because I think you
'Cause
are gonna say the same thing.
Shane said he took his sons out with him. He told him at the last minute,
Right,
"Hey, y'all want to do the entrance with me?" And he
right,
said the look on their face, like they was like they got that
yeah,
adrenaline rush. Now think about this: one of them just got a football scholarship to a college. If it's not Indiana, it's the College of Indiana, I believe. Right?
Mhm.
And Big E said this. It's one thing you come out there football, everybody's cheering, but they're cheering the team, they're cheering the logo. He said when you go into wrestling, they're cheering you.
Yep.
They got that pop going out there. They're going to remember that. And it's like, man, I want a taste of that. And then you can just imagine Vincent
Yeah.
Gorilla. Go ahead, grandson, get it. Yeah, go get a
Right.
taste of it. And them running out there, getting that. Come on now.
Right.
And so I think it's going to be a combination of both. I also could see Stephanie McMahon's daughters wanting a piece of the business side of it too,
Right.
right?
mm-hmm.
Watching their
Watching their
dad.
mom.
Yeah, and definitely watching their mom. And the reason I said dad first because he's still there. The mom. I mean, goodness gracious, Stephanie did so much. That like she
Backstage,
just like
yeah.
you talk about somebody who deserves a break. But I could see that she probably giving them stories and telling them, and then like, well, you know what, go because she said this is all what she wanted to do. So I could see maybe one of her daughters doing that, and maybe one of them saying, look, because I believe one of them did get in the ring, roll around a little bit. So I definitely could see the lineage continuing. They
Yeah.
thinking back to their great granddad, Vincent James McMahon.
Right. And there's always that level of comfort that you're gonna have in the business just growing up in
Mhm.
it. Like Charlotte didn't desire to be in the business, but she had already been on WCW TV, WWE TV. She already was familiar with it. And
Mhm.
another interesting thing too, when you watch like these documentaries, are like Charlotte Flair understood her father's sacrifices when she got in the game, where she was just like, okay, now I see why he couldn't just, walk away. Now I see why he was, quote unquote, bored when he was home because nothing matches what it's like being on the road and wrestling and all of that. So then you get this level of understanding and camaraderie with your parent that you didn't realize before because you're like, okay, now I see what this is all about. Like, this is the
Mhm.
coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
But I like going back and talking about all of this too because now the women are going to be more so like we talked about like Jeff Jarrett's grandmother or the women in the Anoai family, but now that the women are being looked at as like athletes as well, who knows what that women's wrestling scene is about to be like in 15-20 years. It's going to be insane.
Well, we finally get like our wish to have 5 women's matches and 5 men's matches on premium
Mm,
live events on a regular basis.
yep.
It's
Yep.
just surreal to see where it's at, where like Izzy is now getting in the ring and starting to wrestle. And I remember her vividly from
Jesus.
like being like the biggest Bailey fan and whatnot, being ringside for like all of Bailey's matches, and now she's training to be in the ring. It's just like, wait, she's of age now? I was like, yeah.
Or and seeing like Ava Rain made me and like wrestling and stuff made me feel old because it's like, wait, I grew up watching your father and now you're like, I'm watching you. Like, this is crazy, but also really fun. I'm excited for her.
And then she got a little sister too, so she might
Yep.
watch Big Sis. And people was like, yeah,
Hmm.
but did you watch your dad? Like, no, I watched my sister.
Right. I love that. That that is so dope. That is so dope.
Mhm.
So those in the fan club, is there a wrestling family we haven't mentioned that we should talk about real quick?
Who's
I do
going to
want to close
kayfabe?
out.
Undertaker, Kane, Edge, and Christian.
Yes. I
I
mean,
really thought
because
they were brothers. I don't care what I really thought that
Undertaker,
like
Kane.
I
I thought
did.
that whole
I was
storyline
very
was a
old
thing.
when I didn't. I was like, wait, what?
I hated Undertaker for a
But
while.
I was
I'm
kind
like,
of
how you
like,
leave your brother hanging like that? How you do that? Like that was foul. And then I had to get older and realize like, oh wait, no, that's not it.
and if you think about it, these family storylines was like the heart of like attitude era stories because the McMahon family was all up. It kind of everything centered around them for a long time. Like even Stone Cold Steve Austin Rise was the McMahon family being kind of like the enemy and everything,
Same
the
thing with Triple
authority
H.
and all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, think of how Triple H got himself intertwined, and now he's really intertwined.
I mean, is this still in there?
He's in the
You see, you
family.
talk about the McMahon family. See, Austin
Yep.
stunned them all.
Each and every one of them, even Linda. Bless
But
her
you,
heart.
Definitely did.
Bless her
I love how they
heart.
all laid out.
but man, it was nothing like, there's a lot of things that people can say about the invasion, and I know, it could have been booked better. But man, when you think about like Vince and Shane going at it back and forth, the promos, and then when they lost,
Mhm.
how Shane went to take it like a man, that Stephanie went to blame her brother, like all that stuff was fun. So like even like bringing that kayfabe, even kayfabe now with the bloodline, right? Seeing them kick Big Cuz in the face,
Good shit, yo.
I was like, this man just for someone who's a decorated champion, they keep hoodwinking my man. Like he turns his back, gets a chair shot to the back. He watching people argue, get kicked to the face. He
he was
thinks
walking around,
somebody gonna stick up for him, he get kicked in the face again. Like,
nobody
can you
stop me.
like stop? Like, learn to duck. Can you learn to just come on?
No, but
Like,
how about
it's
at what was that elimination chamber when he turned his back on Jay? I was like, don't do it, Roman. What is
yo,
wrong with you?
when he turned his back on Sammy, I was like, why are you doing this? Like you went through this like five years ago. Why? You ain't learned your lesson when somebody else with long hair did to you? Why you not learning your lesson now? You
Roman
deserve it
Reigns
after
doesn't
this
believe in
point.
trust falls. That's why.
Yo, I can't.
Wait, this is why you don't listen to the dirt sheets. Guess who's that on Dynamite?
Who?
The Elite.
Who?
The Elite.
Oh, I thought they wasn't gonna be on the same shows.
Yeah, now it says live. They might
If y'all
be
keep
filming this
listening to
Well,
backstage,
David
but
this is
Meltzer
also
and
the
his
go home.
1,000 stacks of paper, we're never gonna be able to watch another show ever
I'm just,
again. I told y'all
But
that.
keep this in mind. This is also the go home Dynamite to Forbidden Door this
This
week.
which
is
I
true.
keep
Which
forgetting.
is
Like,
beginning
wait,
this
Forbidden Door is
Sunday.
this weekend.
And then there's also Ring of Honor. There's Fight Club this week, isn't there?
I'm
We got
not
Athena
sure.
because we have Athena versus Kiera Hogan in a street fight. So everybody needs to be watching that.
Mm.
That's gonna be
It's gonna
interesting.
be, yeah.
They've
Shout out
been
to what
they've
they
been
did.
crushing Ring of Honor lately.
I agree.
I don't want to pick one. I ain't gonna lie, but I can
We
imagine I
will.
got.
We gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I mean,
Subscribe to Patreons.
Yes.
I think Sandal's right because I do remember. I think there's a tweet somewhere that's just like, yeah, it's just a week of just every day is wrestling.
Yeah,
Something significant.
every day is wrestling.
Every day. Great time. I also want to know some other topics that you guys want to talk about in the fan club, those that come in, the VIPs, Rakarsha, Dre. What do you guys want to talk about? Because Wrestling Families was one that we kind of always kind of kept, on in the wings because also Seindole wanted to do it. But there's so much that we could dive into.
It was
which
so
is
worth
so
it.
exciting.
And thank you, Sienna, because
It
I
was
learned a lot
so
today.
It's so worth it. I'm telling you, it's like a hook dive. It's like a
No, this is great. I actually learned a lot tonight as well that I didn't know, and we didn't get into talking exactly about Dark Side of the Ring, but I think that show has definitely showed us parts of family dynasties that we probably would never have learned about. But it's really good insight.
I gotta catch up on Dark Side of the Ring. I've
Well,
missed
what
some
was your
episodes.
thoughts on did the Billy Graham episode air already? Because I didn't
Yes.
watch it yet. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, which one?
The
Graham family?
the Graham family.
It was really sad. I think it's probably the most tragic wrestling family story since the Von Erichs. I think just tragic, but wrestling was the heart of the family, and I would watch it. I would watch it for sure, especially if you were like a fan back then or just respected like what they did in the business.
Without ruining it, I want to know your thoughts about Dusty Rhodes after you watch it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Is that a tease?
yeah, watch it. That's your homework assignment for the
There you go. Got it.
Got
I'm on it. I'm on it. Vice. I had to change provider, so I don't get Vice no more. But I'm gonna figure it out. We gonna work it out.
Okay. Okay.
We gonna work it out.
Yeah, and we love that you enjoy fan club, Rakarsha. It's definitely never the same without you. So I'm glad that you were able to come through. Shout out to everyone else that comes through. Are you acknowledging the tribal chief or raising your hand?
I'm raising my hand. You know what else is my favorite wrestling family?
Hmm.
This one.
Oh, that's so sweet. I
Because
love
without you
it.
guys, I literally this would be the most boring thing to watch by myself. And I have to blame this one. This one, come on, camera. I have to blame this one up there because this is the one who brought me all into it.
Like I
And then
said, who you
she
pointing
introduced me
at?
to these people, and
Mhm.
then it just became one big happy family. And we keep growing our family.
We
So I
got
enjoyed this wrestling
I
family.
know.
family. I got all my wrestling in me.
I have met
We
some really
are
special people
family.
that's now family.
Come and
It's a
cut a
beautiful.
promo or sing.
Come
Hey.
on.
What about that next? So we're talking about just like the wrestlers, but now that wrestling media is so hot right now, black wrestling media,
Mhm.
imagine that next line, like or even just this generation currently, like Bougie's is having a son. Who knows? Who they might be main event in WrestleMania in 20 years. Like you never know. You
I
Or
thought you
running
was about to say.
promotions.
I'm
never know. Say
thinking, I'm
what?
thinking, I'm thinking you about to say like, what about the next generation of podcasters we gonna inspire?
Oh no, I was talking about that too, but
But you
I
went,
gotta
you went,
help with you know.
you went to the natural side. I'm not. It's just funny. Like I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
No, but
people gonna be.
I was thinking that as well because there's gonna like our that next generation is gonna watch
Mhm.
is gonna love wrestling and then they're gonna watch us create content about wrestling and be like, oh shit, that's dope. I wanna do that. I
Yeah,
wanna go to shows and shit.
Someone's got to change out Melter ratings.
Seindole scoreboard.
That part.
Me. I'm tired of,
Ooh.
as you can see, I'm clutter free around here. I don't have stacks and stacks of papers around me. And I feel like another thing about the landscape that's changed about the wrestling media is not so much. I feel like back then it was a little bit more biased. No matter how you wanted to look at it, everyone was biased. Like I feel like Meltzer, he has his bias. Like he showed it. Like you didn't hear a word about Phil until like Phil started showing up, and then all of a sudden the bias is back. Now it's not so much. Everybody is their own individual. They're not just following the crowd. Everybody is their own person, giving
Hmm.
their own
Mhm.
exterior on the art, and that's what we need more of. So if Siendo's scoreboard is going to do that, I'll be glad to take the reins. It's not a problem, and I'm accepting bookings too. So. But it's a fan club exclusive. Only fan club can have it. So suck on
Ooh.
that.
And Dre, you're right. TWG family
I
is
feel
the
like it should
best
be a
wrestling
Patreon or something.
family.
That was like a vision I had. I had a dream that it was like
I
a full on
agree. I do want
Patreon.
to shout out.
That sounds like something that needs
I
to go in the
mean,
notes.
nothing is stopping you. Justin, put it in the notes.
Pulling an
Put it
ounce.
the note. I do want to shout out another wrestling family, and that is Battle Club Pro, and everyone over there
Yes.
who put on another phenomenal show last weekend. I'm so sad that I wasn't able to make it, but I heard great things. The card was phenomenal. Jobber Cheers and Battle Club are now advertising for Jobber Slam 3.
Jobber
Crazy. So we're gonna
City.
be so that's going to be really, really good. And that definitely is, kind of our extended wrestling family
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
Holy
like our
smokes!
But,
SummerSlam.
My mentor, shout out to Kevin Richardson of the Baltimore Sun, just
mhm.
gave a clap to the story about the Tonight Show, the
Oh,
wrestling and family. It's,
nice.
Nice.
Love it.
I can't wait for Job Slammer. I got that date saved because I didn't know about the first one, and then I wanted to go to Job Slam 2 and couldn't
Mhm.
at the last minute. So this one was like, nah, I gotta pull up.
Yeah, it's the week before SummerSlam.
Yay. Oh yeah, we're gonna be we have a busy summer. This wrestling family right here
Yeah,
got a busy
busy
summer
day.
ahead.
Yeah, man. I forgot. So that weekend is
Booking
Jobber Slam weekend,
busy.
and then we're right in Detroit for SummerSlam weekend.
Hmm.
And then we
Slams.
back in New
It's a slam in
York.
summer.
Yeah.
And then
I see what you
Payback in
did there.
Pittsburgh.
Payback. I can't believe Payback's in Pittsburgh.
I'm going
I'm
to enemy
Phenomenal.
territory.
I kind of want to go. I
Coming
feel
with
like I'm
me.
the only person that's nuts that wants to go to Indianapolis for Fastlane because I've
See,
never been to
I want to go
Indianapolis before.
anywhere.
No,
I never been to Indy either.
you lost me at Indianapolis. That's Indianapolis is one of those places that's like, nope, never. Like
What do you
Mississippi,
Really?
Alabama,
mean?
nope.
Oh, it's like that.
Naptown?
I just have no ventured interest to go to anywhere Indiana outside of like the Hoosier thing for
Come
like
on, it's the home of Michael
the.
Like the
Jackson.
best. And Michael got out
I'll go for
as soon
that.
as they got famous. They
Yeah,
went to
Hello,
LA. That's
took
what
him
I
out of
learned on
that
the
small
Janet
house.
Jackson
that's
documentary.
why Michael learned to moonwalk. He moonwalked his ass out of Indiana.
I can't with you, Justin.
That's why he always be pointing. He'll be like, "No, stay over there. Come on, over there."
Yo, I can't.
Justin never
But
missed.
I will vouch for Pittsburgh because I was there. What was it last year for a Rangers playoff game with the Penguins, and that arena is really nice. It's in the heart of downtown, and Pittsburgh in general, like downtown, is like really nice. Like Corey, Carmela, I get it. Just don't order
Okay.
food after midnight because that's a pain in the ass and then some. But outside of that, like it's
I will
nice and
proudly
worth
wear
it.
my Ravens gear.
Oh.
That's you
And then
pay.
that note, I changed
No,
my
I
mind
won't.
because I'm not getting
No,
murdered.
no,
I'm not murdering nobody
Well,
for you. You understand that, right? I
no,
can't
I
go to
wouldn't do
jail.
that. Not if I'm
I will.
with the
Well,
wrestling family.
I will say this, Brian. Like when I went to the Rangers game, I wore my Ranger shit, and no one really fucked with me. But then again, I don't know
Really?
if the hatred for Rangers and Penguins is on the same level as Ravens and Steelers.
Well, those are all
It's a
teams that
respect
beat
thing, though.
them. Those are all teams that beat them in playoffs. If you look at the history of it, so that's why.
We have a love-hate relationship with
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. It's a respect thing, you know.
Mm.
So, but I ain't got time for sports.
I feel
Wrestling.
you
See,
on
even
that
Andre
one.
is telling you don't wear Ravens gear up in Pittsburgh. Don't do that. So that's two people
Well,
telling you not to do
we're gonna
something.
try to be everywhere. We're gonna try to be everywhere. All those random ass cities that we're gonna visit.
That's
for
how
the
you see the
first time.
world.
Exactly. You just go to wrestling shows. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another edition of TWG Fan Club. Check out our first best of episode. It's on YouTube. I think we should do that like every, 6 months or so because I think we have so much fun on here. And it's really all about everyone that comes in the club and just kind of like entertains our bullshit, but we love it. And we have fun, and I look forward to it.
I'm about to
every
create the
single
folder
day.
now. That way it's
Yes,
easier. Just like
let's do
drag
that.
and drop.
All the good ones, all the good ones. Don't forget to tell everyone how much fun you have in the fan club. Hashtag TWG fan club. We're here every Wednesday on Twitch, 7 p.m. Eastern. The playback the following week on YouTube. Sometimes we have some bonus stuff, so always come in. We drop a lot of exclusive information, a lot of stuff that goes on in the TWG universe. The news breaks here every Wednesday on Twitch. So my crew, some of my favorite people in the world. Where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me on all social media platforms at It's Justin Rich. You can find me here Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 for a TWG fan club with these three beautiful, illustrious, intelligent co-hosts of mine. You can catch me from time to time on Tuesday nights for a Turnbuckle Talk with Mimi and Corey, where we talk all things wrestling around 6:35 p.m. Right now, they're on hiatus. I think they're going to be back around July. So that's where you could catch us there. You can also see me from time to time on True Heel Heat Sports and True Heel Heat Wrestling. Both of those channels are located on YouTube where we talk sports, wrestling, and all that fun stuff. We here, we outside, we active. It's summertime. Go outside, touch grass, wear deodorant.
Hey, going after the plug. Thank you for that reminder, because some people forgot. Some people forgot my preaching. Man, I need to preach again another fan club, but we're gonna leave that for another fan club.
Okay, who's next?
Really? Really?
Tough act to follow, but go ahead and do it.
Anyway. So we talk about fan club exclusives tonight on the Wrestling Around Now podcast. We're gonna talk about the BRP 50. Shout Shouts out to brother Math, brother Fam. I talked to them earlier, so
Fire
I'm
hoodie.
excited about that. They know it's coming. They know what's about to go down. Make sure y'all check out. We're gonna obviously talk about all that's going on in pro wrestling, but one of the things we're gonna definitely do tonight is we're gonna have a 5-on-5 swap. 5 WWE superstars we're gonna send to AEW, and 5 AEW superstars we're gonna
Ooh.
send to WWE. And I'm gonna give you exclusive right here, right now, and that is I am taking Jade Cargill and putting her in WWE. So find out who the other four people that
Mm.
I am sending to WWE and find out the other four I'm sending to AEW. But make sure y'all check out Wednesday Worldwide. Yes, we had a lot of CM Punk talk today, including reacting to Peter Rosenberg's take of saying that if they don't make this a story between the Elite and CM Punk is an epic fail. But we also
Mm.
talked about why the Usos are the greatest tag team in pro wrestling. And make sure you follow me at Brian H. Waters on all social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, and the Twitter. And you know what? If you're bored, go ahead and check out my LinkedIn as well. And you'll see a lot of my work. And make sure, if y'all haven't done so, check out the episode that I had the honor of joining the most important executive producer in the game, the one and only Miss Queen PR, as we talked about the Raw Women's Championship.
It's a goodie. I enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the SmackDown Women's Championship one as well. But last but not least,
Last but not least, of course, as per usual, is your honorary wrestling girl, Seindole B. You can catch me on Instagram at reload.relive and also on TikTok at reload relive. You can also catch me here every Wednesday with the three best friends that anybody can have, also known as my wrestling family. You can catch me on YouTube. And yes, I would like to say, after a long creative, struggling wait, the Palm Springs vlog is fully up and uploaded on my YouTube channel, which you can find, which is youtube.com/reload relive, or you can just look up for Seindole B. I'm one. I'm one of one. I'm the only one, like Queen Beyonce always says. So it's just
yeah.
me. So you can find me out. You can check my videos. You can check out my shorts. Feel free to interact with me on Twitter at Reload Via Film. And like my good boy Justin said, wear your deodorant, go outside, touch grass, and listen. It's just the internet, everybody. Let's just all get along. Shout out once again to the Black Wrestling Podcast 50. Thank you for doing the work for the culture, only for the culture, always for the culture. Can't wait to see 1 through 10 drop tomorrow.
This is 50 J Bougie.
Shout out to Bougie. Shout out to everybody. We will see y'all next week.
Bye.